live and once again unceremoniously without a intro. We are broadcasting. Are we broadcasting? I think we're just streaming. I think broadcasting is like when you're using a radio antenna. But yeah, we are streaming live on YouTube and Twitter X today. Why do people get all bent out of shape, David? I'm looking in the wrong. I'm looking right, but you're here. Why do people get all bent out of shape when they're trying to call it Twitter? They'll be like calling it X, or they'll be saying like Twix, or Twix is all right actually. But like, you ever notice when people specify as if people don't know what you're talking about? Like, why don't people just call it Twitter? I mean, like, that's what I'm really trying to say is like, one of the things I noticed is that people will be like leaving a comment or leaving a message, and they'll always be qualifying that they're talking about Twitter X or Twitter. They'll say like 5 extra words, and it's like, just say Twitter X or just say Twitter. Like, nobody's gonna be like, what Twitter? You mean X? Like, nobody's gonna correct you for calling it Twitter. But have you ever noticed people like getting all like, I don't know, putting too much effort into disambiguating Twitter and X?
Yes, and I don't think that people had this much of a problem when Prince changed his name to that symbol for about 7 years to get back at Sony or whoever it was.
Prince did that?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta see this here. I'm gonna look at this up. I didn't even know the love symbol. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Oh wow. Okay, I did not know he did that. But he was the kind of guy I think who would stick it to the copyright patent trolls and people of that nature.
Yeah, he was a fountain of music and productivity, and the label that he was under, whether it was Sony or not, held him back. They only wanted him to release so many albums over a certain period of time, and I don't know. That's what the story was. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. DJ, I don't hear you any longer.
Oh, I muted myself. You know how long I've been talking?
No.
Quite a while, yeah. Maybe I should turn on my camera. So, I think I turned off my camera last week for some reason. I don't know why, to be honest, but I was probably up to no good. There we go. Now we got 2 for the price of 1. I don't know. It's a cool angle. Anyway, let me just clean this up real quick. But yeah, so as I was saying I was actually in the middle when I realized I was muted. It was saying hi to Dusty Lamborghini in the chat. Thanks for dropping by. And I was making a joke about how, you probably would get a Dusty Lamborghini if you drive one around in Dubai. You get those Emiratis, those rich guys with the, headdress. And apparently they got more money than they know what to do with. So they're buying those Lamborghinis and driving them in the desert. And I wonder what that must do to an air intake.
You muted again.
Really? Wait, am I really?
You were for about 10 seconds.
Okay, it's probably that robot glitching there. So that's interesting. That's something we got to explore too. So yeah, today David and I would basically have an impromptu, well actually it's a planned Star Wars stream, but we're also going to use it as an opportunity to like mess with his settings, or at least to identify, basically, is this your streaming debut, by the way? I mean, you did Snacks and Comics, I think, not long ago, and you did one with Jolly, so I guess one of those might have been your streaming debut?
Oh, no, I haven't yet done one with Jolly. It was just with Snacks. So yeah, this is my streaming debut. Yes, proper.
Well, I think the one with Snacks counts, but I do appreciate getting that distinction as being the first legit stream. Although, I mean, I think Nip and Nag is legit, but it's a casual atmosphere, right? I mean, he lets me hop on, so I mean, it's got to be casual if he's letting me hop on Tuesdays. But yeah, speaking of Gundams, and I mean, this is like totally not Star Wars related, but when we had that Star Wars stream last week, where we had Pacific 414. Not David Glenn, you're here right now. Pacific 414, Baron Ormond-Tag, that's the guy I was talking about, yeah. And we had Cash Monet on, and one of the things I wanted to do was whip out my Gundam model kit, because This thing is freaking cool. But no, jokes aside, let me just adjust this. So one of the interesting things, like, that you'll learn as you play around or you do this is, like, you're gonna start noticing. At least I started noticing when I got into this, the different ways people hook up their microphones and crap, right? And like, you know, what way is the orientation? Like, why do people put it upside down, and why do they put it the other way? And now we're gonna find out.
My microphone is on the very edge of my desk, as far away from me as it can possibly get.
Well, at least you can drink and eat at your desk and not be heard. Now, one issue with this microphone, this is a great microphone, by the way. This is the Samson G-Track Pro, and it's just a good all-arounder. Like, I'm about to go into the weeds on XLR cables in a minute, but before we do, the one issue with this mic is when you shock mount it, the volume knob for the headphone jack gets blocked by the cage, basically. So two solutions I found was, actually you can force it through if you press down on the knob, but I feel like that's got to be bad for the potentiometer. You know, like, it's just gonna wear it out prematurely. So I'm not proud of finding that particular workaround, but it is an option. And the other option is to remove the knob and then put it back in when you're done. But, you know, it could be a little tedious. Like, I mean, you got to give it a lot of gripping force, you know?
Yeah.
And it looks like that's, if I want to rotate it. So it's like the idea, like, you can rotate the mic freely in here. So it's actually tightened here. There's a thread that's tight, but it has like a gap or a gasket or something that lets you spin it freely. So in theory, you can orient this however you need it. But in reality, it's something that I really should do when I'm off camera, because you can see how, like, I have to, there we go, we got it. I had to force it, but, you know, I'd much rather remove the knob so I don't force it. But it's just a minor inconvenience about this mount, but I needed a shock mount. I don't know if I really needed one. I just liked the idea of having one. There we go. How's my audio?
Your audio is perfect, at least on my end.
Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know,
about in the audience.
Sometimes when you mess around with the microphone a lot, you know, like I was just doing now, I could have been making a shit ton of noise, like, you know, thumping sounds, boom, 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 you know, like clicking sounds when you're moving the thing around. And Dusty Lamborghini has confirmed audio is great. He also says, for sure, super dusty in regard to Lamborghinis in the Middle East. So real quick, so it's not real quick, actually, I'm not in any rush. So yeah, this is the V2 Victory Gundam. Let's see if we get a good camera angle on that. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier in the stream when I was talking about exposure settings and things like that. So basically, like, you can already see how, like, the box is completely and utterly overexposed.
Yes.
And so this is like an area where, like, I have no choice but to actually go into that properties menu that we talked about earlier and click on configure video, which is buried in there, which is not a big deal. I mean, I think so. There's a lot of things in here I don't use, but essentially I can leave it on automatic. But usually if I know I want the camera to be on a particular setting, I enter that setting just to guarantee that it never gets a mind of its own. Because in OBS, when you have a canvas like this screen over here, you can move things around. But imagine what would happen to this viewport here if the resolution suddenly went to 720p after I opened OBS instead of 1080p. That box would be half the size, and it would probably be moved over, or, you know, it would shuffle. It would just be super annoying. So sometimes, like, there's settings that are automatic, and I set them so that I can guarantee that I get consistent behavior out of it. But anyway, what we want to... Yeah, you know, that's like the gist of it. So basically, this camera here, this downward facing camera, when I originally bought it, I bought it specifically because I needed a camera that could do 1080p at 60 frames per second. Prior to that, I was rocking a Logitech C615. Basically, it was a 1080p camera. I used to use it to watch my turtles, so it'd be like my turtle camera, you know, like, you know, for this guy here or her sister. And what I would do is I would put this in the tank on the dry dock, and then when the turtle climbed up, you could get a camera view of them climbing up. But what was cool about the Logitech C615 was you can manually adjust the focus on it. So I mean, what I mean is you can electronically manually adjust the focus. So I had autofocus. So normally if you got close to the camera, you'd see it get blurry for a second and then it would get back into focus. But the issue with the the autofocus was sometimes it would misjudge. So usually you could turn off the autofocus and set it using a little slider manually, and sometimes that came in really handy. But that was the only advantage of the C615. Other than that, the C615, like I said, only did 30 frames a second. And every modern display, literally every modern display that we stream to is capable of doing at least 60 FPS. Now, I'm not saying you have to stream at 60 FPS or anybody else does. You really don't. In fact, most people are better off streaming at 30 FPS, less bandwidth, and they're not gaining, like, their camera may not be able to really look better at 60 if it, some cameras, you could increase the setting and it doesn't really do anything, you know what I mean? So my point is, yeah, so this camera here, 60 FPS. So the point I was showing was, I'm so good at going off topic, aren't I?
Oh no, I'm enjoying this because this is what I was working on earlier today. I had to drop it down to 30 FPS just to get it to quit looking like I was swimming through molasses.
Yup. Now, okay, that's interesting actually. So was it lower than 30 FPS at the time?
No, I think it was at 60.
Oh, so it was actually, so because it was too fast or something, that was overwhelming it, you'd think? Something like that?
Yeah, I also had to reduce the resolution from like 1920 to I don't know,
1280 by
1024 or 1280. I'm not sure, whatever.
I would guess so. Next time you ask for it, I would look at 1280 by 720 because right now, like literally, like if I go to full screen mode on Restream, that's what you get. And so even though my camera and OBS are 1080p and the canvas is 1080p, 1920 by 1080, what you're seeing right now is actually 720p because, I mean, it says it on the top left corner of my screen, 720p.
Yep.
And one of the things that was interesting was when I got the paid Restream, and real quick, I do want to say hi to Orville Nation, PJ of Orville Nation. I wonder if that exclamation point command works for him. What was it, Orville or PJ? I remember weeks ago when I made a notepad file. Oh, there we go. Good, I got him. I got him in the chat. I put his broadcast, and he, shouted out his channel. But I still gotta do this sit down where I enter all of those like links into the chat bot, which one of these days we'll do. But getting back on topic, yeah, so when I paid for Restream Pro, I think it is, or whatever the one above basic, I think it's Restream Standard. It's not it's the one that costs $300 a year, not $1,000 a year. But whatever the heck it is, when I got this Restream, one of the features was that you could stream at 1080p at 60 frames per second, but there's some qualifiers there. If you're streaming inside the web browser, then no, it's going to be 720p at 60. Like literally, like the menu over here says it. Like those are my options: auto, 720p at 30, 720p at 60, or 480p at 30. So what I'm getting at is like, you're at 720, let's say right now, if you are at 720, and well, that's fine because like literally you would not confer or infer any extra advantage by being above that 720p. So, in a way, it's like, why waste the performance or the clock cycles on your CPU if it's gonna struggle and it isn't even benefiting, the receiving end, so to speak. So that works out. But yeah, the number you're looking for probably would be 1280 by 720. What you showed me before worked, so I think you probably had it at 1280 by 720, because if it wasn't one of those two resolutions, if it wasn't 1920 or 1280, it might not be a widescreen resolution, So like you get to a point now, like if I pick some oddball resolution, it starts to become a square. And so that means the image to fit in a rectangular viewport would have to be like, stretched, make a skinny man look fat, But anyway, here's what we got here. So what was I going to do?
You were taking out the Gundam.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now right here, this box is overexposed. So what I did earlier was I opened up that properties panel. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do I just told OBS to create a new I clicked on the plus sign, I said new Windows source or application source. So I gave it the name properties, it's gonna automatically pick the properties button down here because that's the only window I have right now by that name. So this should work. And then instead of showing that, it didn't show the right window. So what we're going to do now is, so even though I thought OBS was going to give me the right window, it's sharing the wrong window. So now I got to go here in this pull down menu. Wait, wait, you can't see the pull down menu. Yeah, that pull down menu. So we're going to take this pull down menu and I now got to find the app I really wanted to use. So it would have been properties. Is it here? Because I have a cool trick and I hope I can show this cool trick. Oh wow, I think it's actually trying to play hardball here. The computer is trying to, the software is trying to play hardball with me, guys. Can you believe this? But jokes aside, okay, I can't show you the properties window, so we're going to do a workaround. Okay, give me 1 second here. So I need to do window capture, display cap. Oh, wait, that's easy. Okay, here's what we're going to do. So this window represents my right monitor. We're going to copy pasta that. We're going to paste it, and we're going to take this part of the window. We're going to put it up in the corner or somewhere where I can easily see it. And we're going to just crop this shit. We're going to, pardon my language, guys. We're just going to crop it. So in OBS, when you have a canvas like this, you can actually hold down Alt. And instead of resizing something, it'll crop it. So that's what you're seeing there. I'm actually cropping a duplicate. And even though it looks like nothing, it's actually, you can see it's like literally part of that screen. So now what I wanted to do was actually crop it on this. But I think I made a miscalculation here.
I just wanted to say Disney Sheepherder is in the chat.
Ah, yeah, my man. I did see his name. I'm sorry, I'm negligent. Good to see you.
No problem.
Good to see you, Disney Sheepherder. All right. We're doing some science here. We're gonna science the shit out of this, like Matt Damon. That's my Team America reference right there. You know what? Okay, I gotta do something real quick. We gotta move this here. I hope I don't have anything bad on that screen. I didn't sanitize my right screen. Okay, good. The right screen is safe. All I have is a FPS calculator. And some information about the planet Tau Ceti. If anybody wants to learn about the planet Tau Ceti, maybe we'll talk about that in a little while. But anyway, okay, so as I was trying to do. So this is my right monitor. Now I'm going to crop it. All I want is I want to have this window so that now I could take this window. See how like there's a window in the top left corner of my right monitor. But I have a snippet now where I can move this around. So what I would do is I would actually, I copied it, Control C. Now I'm going to go and press Control V over here. In fact, it looks like it was already done, but I'm going to do it again. And there we go. Because now what you're seeing here is, this is the properties panel. This is the properties panel that's applicable to, you know, the thing that I'm trying to do right now. You know, like, I'm sorry. Okay,
we can't see the properties panel.
Oh yeah, you can't. That's true because VStream is blocking it. There we go. But as I was saying, so thank you. Let me get my brain back.
No, actually, thank Dusty Lamborghini, I believe.
Oh, no doubt. Well, thank you, Dusty Lamborghini. And I'm sorry I'm not seeing the chat. I mean, I see the chat, but I haven't read the chat. Not too much, but I can do that now. There we go. I started using the chat feature in VStream, and it's pretty cool. Like, you can click on stuff like this. And only thing I don't know if it does, I don't know if it does member emojis. But I don't have monetization status, so it doesn't really matter at the moment, right? So anyway, what I wanted to do, so now we have it. Okay, so bottom line is, this is in English. I'm going to say this in English now. This properties window that is floating over the canvas right now directly controls the settings for the camera that you're looking at. So what I want to do is, obviously my Gundam is way overexposed, and yeah, auto exposure can compensate, but notice that only when the thing is close enough. The minute it's too far away, that ain't happening. So if I want to override auto exposure, I would go to this checkbox in the, you know, the second tab, camera control, turn off automatic, and then I can manually crank it down to whatever setting I think is appropriate. Now, the other reason I bought this camera when I was replacing the Logitech C615 was that it actually had a manual focuser on it. So instead of being able, you know, if I was using this as a camera to monitor my turtles, this one I'd have to set the focus ahead of time. So if the turtle got up and got too close to the camera, they would be blurry. So that's where the Logitech camera had an advantage over this one. But when you need to get up close to something, I find that this telescope, I mean, this camera gets comparable macro focus to a like USB microscope, because really a lot of USB microscopes are really just like modified webcams. So to give you an idea, like I'm pretty sure if we mess with this, we can see the Pantone. Yeah, we can see the Pantone pattern. Can anybody else see the Pantone pattern?
Yes, I can see it very well. It's
So
got
like,
a little triangular cellular shape to it.
yep, and this is how close the camera was. It was like that close. Like that's how close. So that's pretty good macro focus, like for a, you know, a simple webcam. And so even though it's not perfect, it has served me pretty well in this particular capacity. So I'm pretty happy with this. And I know we haven't really talked Star Wars much, but I promise we'll squeeze in a little bit of Star Wars, whether or not we love the new Star Wars or not. 12-hour days.
I've seen 2 of the new Star Wars sequels.
Ooh, let me guess. You saw episode 7, the first Rey movie, right? What was it, The Last Jedi?
Yes.
And you saw Rogue One.
Yes.
Yeah, mine too. That's literally not even kidding. Those are literally the 2 movies I saw. And I liked Rogue One. Like, it wasn't perfect. It had its issues, but you know, all in all, like I felt like there was more care, more effort. It's like something that like comes up a lot lately. Like when Mike or Pacific 414 was playing Star Trek. What's that game? Star Trek Resurgence. That game is another example where I felt like there was a genuine effort being made, like where they gave a shit, you know, like they really tried and they made something that they knew that people who actually enjoy Star Trek would enjoy. So even if there were things you can complain about, even if like, yeah, there was that Mary Sue character in there, it's like, you know what? I mean, I've seen more than my fair share of Mary Sue's. Like, I'm not going to complain about it every time I see it because, I mean, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's good to have a tough lady character or something. But also, they didn't play it over the top. They didn't try to shove, like, it's when they try to shove propaganda in, when they, like try to teach you a lesson, like, and it's not, like, a very pointed lesson, because I think the original Star Trek got it right. I think people can probably articulate it a little bit better than I can. But, like, you ever watched the original Star Trek, David?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I watched them as a child when they originally aired.
Do you remember Let That Be Your Last Battlefield?
Is that the matter, antimatter beings?
They might be, but what I do know them
Or the
as...
half black, half... Oh, with Frank, yes, I do.
Yep, you know that one. Okay.
That would be the preachiest it ever got
Yep.
in the original series.
And I thought it was okay, like, you know, I mean, like, at the time, like, you know, I first watched it as a kid, so it's like, I understood that in the 60s there was some, you know, trouble, you know, in the South and, you know, all kinds of shit. And, like, they used some stock footage of, like, burning buildings from real riots in this episode. But all in all, it's like, I think it was cool, it was like, they did it, like, it's just like, it's like, it was cool, it was like, it was kind of like, the 2 guys hated each other, and the guy explains why he hates the other guy. He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean we look the same? I'm black and white. And he's white and black. And the guy's like super incredulous about it. He's like obviously we're not the same. He's, you know, and it's like, we're just like, what do you mean? Like, it's the same shit. You're just a different, the opposite arrangement of Oreo here, buddy. Like, you know, like we don't get it. And they're just like, but they fucking mess up our land and they do this and that. You know, it's like it was all the grievances you'll hear from either side of a race war. You know, and I thought it's pretty well executed. Let's play a guessing game here. I think I know who wrote this, but I don't really know. So. Let's see. Who do you think wrote this episode? If you had to guess, I mean, I don't expect you to know all of the writing people.
I would say Roddenberry wrote that more than likely, or DC Fontana. I can't see Harlan Ellison being the author of that, though.
Well, interestingly, we're both wrong. I was leaning towards DC Fontana, and you were leaning towards Gene. Apparently, although maybe this is one of these like quasi answers. According to Google search, it says written by Oliver Crawford, based on a story by Gene L. Kuhn. So, you know, that's a regular right there, right? Gene L. Kuhn, you know. And okay, so that's interesting. And Gene L. Kuhn wrote it under his pen name Lee Cronin at some point in time. So I did not know that, but okay, that's good to know. So that's the facts, and you know, everything on the internet's true. So I'm not worried about this informing any of you guys right now, you know. But real quick, let's catch up with the chat here, because I haven't shown a lot of love to the chat, because I was so excited to talk to my new best streaming buddy right here. What side are you on? Here you are. But jokes aside, I also got here late. I'm sorry for being late, guys. What's up, Whooper? Good to see Whooper Trooper here. He does good content. Quality content, and he's also our supreme leader, so we kind of have to say nice things about him, or else we might get extra work in the gulag.
I am not seeing Whoopa in the chat. Why?
It was like, unless he's on Twitter X. No, he's not on Twitter X. Is anybody on Twitter X right now? No. Well, at least nobody in the chat is on Twitter X.
Let me go to live.
Oh yeah, so Disney Sheepherder, the turtles are doing well, and if I could just find let's see if I want to see if my Amazon order, if I actually ordered the camera that I remember ordering 2 days ago. I did, and it's now arriving today between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. along with my frog suit. Yeah, so I got a frog suit. I actually owned one of these in blue. But I think the pants got ripped, and I had to, one day I wore this at work, and they made me wear like a sticker, like to enter the data center. I had to wear like a printed out label that said I was authorized to enter the data center, and it turned out the label ripped the vinyl coating off of the fabric. So I fixed it, but it now looks a little ghetto. Like I literally have a patch made of aluminum foil and yellow Mylar tape on the chest of this on my blue one. So I figured I'd get a green one because maybe it'd be more visible in bad weather, and maybe I could just joke and call it the frog suit, you know, instead of calling it my rain pants. Like, oh, it's my frog suit because it's green. But getting the thing that I wanted to show was right here. So this is going to be the first of at least 2 cameras we're going to be putting in, because I'm taking this pretty seriously. Like, I find that I never have the right camera angle unless I have more than one camera. So the thing was, when I was shopping, one of these cameras had like a regular circular front lens thingy on it, or lens cover, and it had a different lens. So basically the numbers I was looking at was, it said let's see, field of view 129 degrees. The other camera had like like 100 degrees field of view. So it's like, I don't know which one actually looks better, but basically one of them is going to be a little bit wider and the other one's going to be a little bit more zoomed in. And sometimes the reviews, like, okay, so this is what it looks like when a guy's sitting right next to his camera. This is what it looks like when it's 10 feet up in the barbecue patio area. And the other camera had pictures similar, but they were in different environments. So it's like, how do I compare a picture taken in someone's attic to a picture taken 10 feet up? You know, it's like, it's just not really telling me how big things are going to look on camera. So basically I decided I'll just buy this one first, and then I'll get the other one afterwards. Like, once I figure out, I say, oh, I'll look at the camera, I say, okay, it's zoomed in too much. Oh, I'm not showing the whole screen again. See, I'm trying to make it so that, you know, I don't want to dominate the screen, Dave. I don't want to be like...
no, you please take over the screen, sir.
Here we are. I got to compromise. This works better, right?
Yeah,
like
I
I
don't
want people
have
to know.
any ego issues where that is concerned.
It's more for the user, like also for you, but also for the users, so that you're not just a disembodied voice. You know, people can look at something and know that there's another person here. By the way, guys, there's another person here. No, I'm kidding. But jokes aside, still running through the chat. Let's see, and if we do the chat overlay, it makes it smaller, but that's all right. So that works pretty well. I don't like that you can't customize this, but I like that it works, that you can have a chat overlay. Okay, so let's see here. Gotta go. I'll try to get on later. No doubt. Good to see you, Disney Sheepherder. Thanks, Orville Nation. I appreciate that. I strive to do quality things. The original one had letterbox on it. If you want to copy this, let me know. My sheep fell off of the ledge, Orville Nation asked. Oh, yeah, I gotta send something to Orville Nation. So, Orville Nation has, you know, obviously he's monetized. He's got member emojis, but he had like one member emoji. So I was like, this man needs, in fact, does he even have any emojis? I don't even think he has any. Mike has one emoji, but PJ has like none. So I made one emoji out of a Union Starfighter, and I'm dying to, I got to send it to him and see how it looks. I think I was still tweaking it, but let me see if I can find it here. What the hell was it called? Union Fighter. Here we are. So the tricky thing about this was, so the original image was this one over here. Oh my God. I gotta read that out loud. My sheep fell off of that ledge. Oh, that ledge. I know what he's talking about. What? Seriously, Disney Sheepherder? Here, wait, I gotta address this real quick. PJ, if you're still here, I can address your concern. See? They did fall off that ledge. How cool is that? I mean, it's very shoddily done, as you can see, but it works. I actually I got the stock imagery from Power Directive 365, so like I paid for the annual subscription and downloaded and installed the app, and then I applied, like, there was a feature that automatically removes the background, so I didn't even have to rotoscope it or figure out how to do that crap. It's not perfect, but it did it. And then once it did that, I was able to then apply the chroma key on this end and get it to, do this, and it's like, it's a cute little thing, like I would definitely like to make a higher quality one of these days, but it works, and I'm satisfied with the current state of affairs there. Interesting. So, Dusty Lamborghini says, that Star Trek episode seems semi-racist, at least. Well, it's definitely race-oriented. Like, I wouldn't call the episode itself racist, but I would definitely say the episode tackles the issue of racism. At least that's my position on that. I am here.
Like the Watts riots had just happened. So...
He's like... Thank you for explaining. Was worried for a second. That's cool. So yeah, anyway, so I started off with this picture right over here. This is a Union fighter. This was in the final episode of Orville. And then, if I change the picture, let me see, how do I switch pictures? I want to get the right one. Oh, this is off topic here, but this is a game called Body Harvest for Nintendo 64, and it's basically like Rockstar and North made a game before they were Rockstar. You drive around like you do in GTA. You can walk around, you could drive around, you could take cars, and the cars, most of the cars could shoot weapons at the alien bugs. So yeah, Body Harvest N64, if that interests anybody, I would recommend it. Let me see, I'm looking for the, okay, this is off topic again. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about that right now, because I will be here for 10 more minutes.
Is that a Victory Gundam?
That's the thing. So, this is a second Victory. So, basically, in the manga, before they made the V2 Victory Gundam, which is the thing that I had on my desk for, like, the past couple of minutes, hey, where's my camera? I gotta turn on my camera there too. Wait. There we are. So basically, like, before they made the V2 Gundam, which is the one in my hand now with one wing on it, the second V is a modified first Victory Gundam. It has the big beam cannon on the shoulder. It has a special shield on it, similar to the Assault Buster Victory Gundam, as I understand it. It's got some cool stuff, but it is imbalanced, so difficult to pilot. Almost more of a prototype. One of the things about the second V was most mobile suits in the Gundam universe will have a fusion reactor as their main power plant. That'll enable them to basically burn propellant at a higher temperature. So just like a nuclear rocket can be more fuel efficient, that's sort of like one of the things that helps stuff in Gundam, stretch out their fuel or propellant, is that they do have that nuclear fusion, keeping, giving them that extra advantage. But even then, you don't have limitless propellant. And I do think that in a fictional setting, I'm forced to ignore that reality, but the reality is that I don't think the legs of a mobile, like we look at a real rocket, and the rocket is almost, especially getting off the ground, is made up of way more fuel than actual rocket, And so when you see a spacecraft where the engine and the fuel all fits inside of a tiny package, and it can move something bigger than the engine and fuel together, that's a little dubious. But when you're in space, we do have satellites that do have, RCS thruster fuel that is limited, but because they only make minor, adjustments, they can last a long time on that. So I'm torn on that, but throwing that aside, assuming that they can fit all of the propellant that they need in here, the big challenge is that it's still not limitless. So one of the things that the Victory Gundam brings to the table that other conventional mobile suits did not have before the Victory Gundams, or in particular the V2, is a Minovsky particle generator or some shit. So basically, in Gundam, the big thing is that fusion reactors, okay, right off the bat, fusion reactors, we don't have that yet. But in Gundam, they were able to make ultra compact fusion reactors because they discovered a particle, and this particle essentially can be used as a force field, but it can also be used for confining the fusion reaction in a tight space. So instead of having a large shielded reactor, the reactor could be smaller and the fusion reaction could be concentrated inside a tight area while not burning a hole through it. And so that feature right there is something that gradually gets exploited into making beam sabers. So the way to make beam sabers are, they're basically taking some of the Minovsky particles from their magical fusion reactor, and it's streaming it out of some kind of thing that, an emitter, basically an emitting device, and then the emitter has an eye field, and the eye field is what keeps that beam saber lined up like a lightsaber beam. Or another thing in the Victory Gundam would be the beam shield, which I have a beam shield right here, and it literally gets projected out of the arm of the mech. And beam shields are another manifestation of what do you call it, beam shields are another manifestation of Minovsky particles at work right there. And if we could get, yeah. So the only issue is, and what's up, Pacific 414? Good to see you, Mike. So the thing is that there's our beam shield, that pink thing right over there, that's done. But that doesn't happen until later in the timeline. So, in the earlier part of the timeline, they don't have beam shields. They don't really have a lot. But one of the things that you'll find in Gundam are what they call mobile armors. And a mobile armor is basically, it's like a flying tank. It's sort of like, it's not quite a mobile suit. If we go into let's see, Universal Century mobile weapons, and we go down to, and let me make sure that just want to make sure that the image is in the full screen here. There we go. Okay, I just had to fix that up. Put up my top monitor, full screen it like that. And we're going to look up mobile armor, not full armor, not this. We need the word mobile armor. Okay, wait. Let's see. Key mobile armor. Oh, that's a whole other category? Dude, just show me mobile armors. I'm sorry, I'm talking out loud here. I literally want a list of mobile armors and only mobile armors. Give me 1 second here. UC timeline, mobile armor. And we really should, remind me in 5 minutes to get on, talk about Star Wars games. Yeah, I want to touch on Star Wars video games. Genuinely do, actually, yeah.
I will remind you.
Yeah, 5-7 minutes, But let me see if we can find just it's like people do make a lot. Oh, okay, wait, is this gonna show me something? Okay, this works. I think this works. One thing I hate about Reddit is when you try to open up an image in a new tab, it just opens up another page. Like, I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they hacked the HTML to do that, but they did it. Okay,
Yeah, Reddit's not like it used to be.
resave that and reopen it so we can actually look at the picture. Like, I like Reddit sometimes, but like I definitely think Reddit mods are pieces of you know, some of them are really lame. And I'm a founding moderator of the Plasma TV subreddit. Yeah, really, I'm not even kidding. That's like, that exists. But what do you call it? Like, the thing was, I posted something to our hardware, and it was when my telescope, my backyard computer, was so cold. It was 26 degrees outside, and you know how modern CPUs, they'll say that this Intel CPU has a 95 watt TDP, but then when it throttles up to turbo, it's using 140 watts.
Yes.
So the AMD processor is same concept, that whatever AMD CPU I'm using. And one night it was 26 degrees outside, and I was running a video encoder, and video encoders, video converters, they use up 100%. If they oftentimes will use up all of your CPUs. So that means that it's going to cut in the turbo. Now, normally it would throttle up the turbo. Then when it got too hot, it would slow back down and, you know, whatever. And that would be fine. This time it was running full turbo on all of the cores continuously. And instead of using 150 watts, it was using 80 watts. So it was using less electricity than it would use, like, normally when it's not turbo. It was using half of the electricity it would use. Almost half of the electricity was being used. And so it turns out there is a phenomenon called like electron leakage, where it's almost a quantum effect, where like when a microprocessor is kept extremely cold, it will use up less electricity, because the opposite would be when a microprocessor gets hot, the hotter it gets, the more leakage you get, the more electrons get lost, essentially. So it forces it to use more wattage to operate. So I discovered this phenomenon, not really discovered, but it was kind of like, you know, something that I don't really see a lot of people talking about. I've never seen anybody demonstrate it in the wild. I'm sure you could do it with liquid nitrogen, but it's like, that's just cost prohibitive and kind of annoying and wasteful. And I just, at that point, it's like, okay, I could hit my desk with a sledgehammer too, but am I going to do it? You know, but I post to r/hardware, and it's not a tech support question. It's clearly me sharing a thing I observed and trying to get the science on it. Like, you know, just give me some fucking scientific answers. And it was up there for a day, and some people left some relevant comments. And then one jerk-off mod, or the automatic moderator, is like, oh, this is a tech support question. So I sent a polite message back. I go, well, it's really not, because, I mean, I'm just trying to push the frontiers of science. And, I mean, I said it in so many words, but, like, it wasn't tech support. And the guy doesn't even reply to me, which is a bit better than other Reddit mods, where somebody will reply to you like with a snarky tone, and then you'll try to say something to appeal to their, you know, sensibilities of like wokeism, and then they'll be like, oh, well, yeah, and they'll still be dicks. It's like, wow, man, I'm trying to use your PC words and everything, and you're still a dick. But I don't know. That's Reddit mods in a nutshell. Some of them,
yes, it is.
And I believe there's some of them that are like what the main line subreddits, some of them like have the same people basically, so that I think affects the culture as well. But
yeah,
let's talk
and then
about,
there was the whole gallows boob or gallows bob or whatever that.
oh yeah, I think that's where that came to mind, actually. That's right. Solar
Dude was
processing.
basically canceling other people's posts and then posting them 6 hours later himself.
Yep.
And then he sold off his account to some corporation.
That is an interesting feature. So I just discovered my picture viewer has a history feature. Huh. Okay, there we go. Whoops, that's not it. Yeah, this is it right here. So right over here, mobile armor. So what we care about are like the one up here. Let me see. Can I zoom in? Okay, good. I can zoom in. So we got Dozo Zabi. This is the big Zam. This actually has 3 people sitting in the top of it. And because it's so big, it has a very big power plant. I think it has like 3 power plants in it. So it has the ability to produce a shit ton of Minovsky particles. So sometimes in the early timeline of Gundam, a vehicle like this or like this, not so much like this, these are all the weird ones, but will be able to emit so many particles, like this one right here will actually hover. And the thing is that the only thing that can hover like a mobile armor of that capability would be an actual ship. So we got a warship like the Albion, which is similar to the first ship you see in the original Gundam timeline. One of the things that made this ship special was that while most ships in the Gundam early UC timeline can only fly in space, this ship could fly on the Earth because it had a Minovsky particle. It could use they call it the Minovsky craft system. And basically, it creates a cushion of Minovsky particles between the bottom of the ship and the ground to make it hover, which sounds like bullshit, but whatever. It's sci-fi, it's anime, you know. And so, bottom line is that it wasn't until like late in the UC timeline that mobile suits started having this capability, because generally, to use Minovsky particles to fly, you need a very big generator, but it's way more efficient than using rocket fuel. Like if you were just using rocket fuel to hover on the ground, or even jet fuel to hover on the ground, that would be relatively inefficient. So what this does is, this is what gets it off the ground. This particular ship still uses jets and rocket engines. It's got a little air intake over here, a big air intake actually. It's like huge, you know, size of a building. That essentially allows it to operate in the atmosphere using an air-breathing engine. But when in space, of course, it's got reactors that will burn the propellant at a high temperature. But that Minovsky generator is what let it sit hovering. It wasn't until like the Victory Gundam, the V2 Gundam, that you actually had a proper Minovsky thing built into it. But the thing was that in that second V Gundam that we saw earlier, I misplaced it, but one of the things about the second V that made it, here it is, was that even though the reactor had a limited amount of power, whatever generator is creating Minovsky particles that allow it to fly is creating a windfall that allows the weapons to utilize it too. So I haven't really gotten into the weeds on it, but in a nutshell, this kind of brought a lot of technologies together that previously would have only been seen in warships or mobile armors. And so I guess once they tested it out, they realized, okay, let's build a proper unit. So while that one on the screen is imbalanced and had a lot of, I think probably was really challenging for an average pilot to operate, the V2 is just more streamlined, I guess. And both of them, the Victory and V2 Gundams, they are transformable. They can turn into fighter planes, and they're very versatile because a lot of the parts are disposable. Like the legs, if your legs get damaged, you just jettison the legs and get new legs in the middle of a battle. Like you just dock with new legs. So a lot of things that they would make it a big deal about early in the Gundam universe became very, very trivial late in the universe. But getting to something else real quick. So bottom line is,
just a question. In Minovsky particle weapons, how do they get around the recoil issue?
Oh, so that's the thing. That's an interesting question. Apparently, they don't create recoil when it's inconvenient, but they have the ability to produce lift when it is convenient. Although, it's funny you do mention that, because actually I do have a reference here. So the mobile armor over here, it went up against a Gundam prototype that was similar in size, but basically this one uses its Minovsky particles to create an eye field, which a few of these do that. This isn't the only one, but this one, when it gets shot by beam weapon, like I'm talking battleship sized beam weapons, it does look like it sort of, I don't know what you call recoil, or it's sort of like, you know, like it looks like it's getting hit by something. So yeah, that does imply that the Minovsky particles from a beam weapon or the Minovsky particle shield, they are able to, like, you know, influence things physically. So I suspect it's a matter of convenient riding. It creates recoil when you want it to, but not when you don't want it to. Like for a good action shot, you want recoil. But let's see something real quick. Let's see, Gundam beam weapons recoil.
I didn't know if a Minovsky particle just negated the gravitational field, or if it was actually pushing against whatever you pointed it at.
I think it pushes against whatever it is. Yeah, it doesn't negate gravity, although maybe it does. Maybe that's something that like one day somebody will actually hash out, because that would make more sense. Like, because I don't like the idea of having like when I read the very basic brief that the ship literally generates a cushion of Minovsky particles from it to the ground. That doesn't really work for me, because like then it's like, well, does that mean I get crushed if I'm standing under it? Is it that it creates such an amount of Minovsky particles, like maybe a pyramid shape, that by the time it gets to the ground, the pressure is really low, but like the ship can lift? But even then, that means that it's got to create an obscene amount of Minovsky particles. And then the other thing is, like, sometimes Minovsky particles, one of the main things they do actually is prevent radar from working, prevent communications, radio communications from working. So if you're using them to fly, does that mean that now you're automatically creating interference for everyone's radio if you're just flying near them? You know, so many questions I have, and I'm gonna just guess that the Minovsky particles that are used for messing up communications and radar are a little bit different. Maybe there's a different way of broadcasting them to get them to work differently. Maybe like when you emit Minovsky particles, if you give them a charge, maybe you ionize them, they work differently than when you're flying with them. I'm just making shit up here, but you know, that's what I got.
Works for me.
So anyway, you know, that's in a nutshell. So bottom line is, do they make recoil? That was my question. Apparently they don't do recoil, but then someone else says they do, and I do think that they do. So one thing that's actually I think is relevant is in The Expanse, the Rocinante receives a what do you call it? A you know, one of them shits, a fucking railgun. And so what this is, I don't think, is this the one? I think it is, maybe, but anyway.
Was that season 5?
I don't think this is. I think this is an earlier Rocinante. I honestly don't know, but it says Batana's gas. Baratana's, I'm sorry, Baratana's gas on it. So I mean, I think they got rid of that branding after they were hiding. Remember, like in the early season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like this looks like an earlier one, but when they did add a railgun to it, they definitely had to, like, I remember Alex Kamal in the book is mentioning that they had to calibrate the engines and all of that to work with the railgun. So when you fire a heavy slug out of your railgun, that will have some very serious recoil between the velocities involved, the energies involved. So now you like 10 tons being pushed out at, you know, hypersonic speed is going to give you a good kickback. And so, you know, the idea would be that the engine would have to, I think, you know, give an opposite thrust commensurate with whatever they're firing at that time. So in Gundam, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't a factor. And the other thing, the last thing I would touch on is that there is, what is it, mobile ball, let's see, mobile ball recoilless cannon. I just need one picture of this here. Oh, that's cool. That's a real cannon. Okay, I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so that's the mobile ball. It's sort of like a modified construction pod that used to have windows all around it. They replaced the windows with a small sensor window, and everything is done from a view screen on the inside, basically. And then on top of it, they have a however many millimeter recoilless cannon or machine gun cannon, whatever you call it, automatic cannon on top. So recoilless cannon implies that the back of it is open, sort of like a bazooka or something like that.
Yes.
In fact, here we are, like that's a good example. He's like, essentially, like, you're not going to get any recoil from that because the thing that's propelling itself is pushing all of its own thrust out of a hollow back. And of course, that's why in the training video that you can find on YouTube, they got a few old training videos. They definitely make a point of telling you don't stand behind that. You know, same thing with your reloader. You know, he's not gonna put his head right behind that right after reloading it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I in the Air Force, I worked on the IFF's identification friend or foe system for the Stinger missile.
Oh, that's sick. That's pretty cool. I imagine that's classified, but now, jokes aside, is the Stinger the same one they used in Stargate SG-1? It's similar, I think, but I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Wait, first episode of Stargate SG-1, they actually use, you know, one of these to shoot down a Death Glider. In fact, this isn't even the one. This is a later episode. I want to find a good one. I mean, it's not the good one.
We were
that
training
one.
Pakistanis so they could train the Afghanis so that they could fight the Russians. This was 1982.
Oh, yep, that's 80s right there. Yep. Those were the days. So you were an advisor. I know, I'm just
Well,
guessing.
not really. I just worked on the little memory card that was in
Oh,
the
that's interesting.
antenna display thing. That's where it was housed.
Were you updating like was it like an EEPROM chip or some shit like that?
Yes, it updated through a settable pin punch card kind of checkout stamp kind of mechanism.
I got you. That makes a lot of sense.
And it had a different code for each day.
Oh, okay, got you. That okay. So that's because I got you. They vote so that the enemy's never gonna use the same code because they don't want. So the idea is that the missile won't hit something if it's got the code.
Right. If you you send out the electronic coded pulse and you get an answer back, then yeah, it won't lock on. It won't
Got you.
shoot.
And I remember this is the one I saw. This is the first episode of Stargate SG-1 when like basically like they have to break out of jail, and I think another Stargate team shows up to assist in the rescue, and one of the guys is standing by on a top of a hill and he shoots down an enemy glider, which the Goa'uld, old, the aliens, they're pretty arrogant, but of course, like this gave them the rude awakening. This told them, like, this made some of the people at the Pentagon a little cocky, thinking, oh, we could take them down. But it's like, well, yeah, they didn't expect us to actually be equipped at all. Like, they still have the ability to, like turn the Earth into like glass. But it's like at this point, we're like at least we're kind of thinking ahead a little bit. In fact, this is a member of SG2. Because it says SG2 on his shoulder there. But I always found this interesting because it looks like that's like an antenna or something. Is that like for painting the target, I guess?
Yes, it's a sight as well as an antenna, plus that thick platform that it looks like it's sitting on. It's not only a bracket, but it probably houses some of the more delicate or whatever integrated circuits. And
Got you. That's interesting. All right. Well, I don't want to see out too much classified info. No, I'm kidding. I know it's not classified.
no,
1980s.
This was. Anyways, I don't even think that technology exists anymore. So, in that fashion, that is.
Is if I did violate a law, I'd have to worry about Punkwater. Oh my God, Punkwater has a mutant eye. See that? He's got the sunglasses.
Oh yeah.
And you got like an extra eye right there. See, it's like the thing about AI art. It's like, if I, like, this is not bad though. I gotta say, like, if he was gonna use this in a physical capacity, like, I would probably just like, airbrush out the extra pupil and then it's good to go. So I think a lot of times people can do better with AI art. Like, not so much our people, but like, I see people writing professional.
Oh no, that's not his iris. That's part of the sun shields on the sides. Those certain types of glasses.
Normally,
no, you're right, man. You're right.
I mean, like, I would agree normally, but it's like these are aviators.
No, you're right,
he's got,
dude.
But like, I mean, like, that's another thing you could do. You could make it look like one of those sunglasses if you want to Photoshop it and make it look like that instead. It certainly opens up options there. Oh, here we go. I found a thing. This is
Sorry,
what
I
I'm talking about.
doubted you.
Nah, no doubt. But what do you call it? It's like, oops, that's some people gonna know about my communist connections. No, I'm kidding.
Oh no.
So this is the ship from like the fighter plane I showed earlier in high resolution. This is in I believe 48 by 48 resolution. This is what is, I think, deliverable for YouTube emoji. For member emojis. The only reason I didn't send it to him yet is I want to play around with it. Like, basically, decide if I want to add a color background to it. Because
is that an SVG file?
This one is not. YouTube emojis are basically, I think, PNGs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, because if it was, because I would think that would make sense. Because that's actually what I wanted to do. I was thinking about tracing it in Illustrator, and then like exporting it in any size I want. That like would make sense, and it would be cool if the emojis could be like that, an SVG or a vector path. That would be great.
Yeah.
But barring that, like, I noticed that I saved some emojis from other channels just to kind of like analyze them, and like basically what like I would do is I'd look at them from a distance and say, is this good from a distance? And then I would compare it to another one, save it. And oftentimes I'm finding like sometimes some people just do better, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is it that they're doing better than the other guy? But one of the things that often affects the look of an emoji is just the background color. So like when I double clicked in and out of full screen mode, we're kind of getting an idea like what may or may not work. And I mean, I guess if this was this big, it would look pretty good. Now, the other thing is that I'm not quite, there's some uncertainties here because like YouTube emojis might be 48 by 48 on an iPad, but they might be 32 by 32 on a phone or a different device. So it's like, it's not like, guaranteed that it'll be shown in one resolution or another. But my logic is, okay, just use the highest resolution that they're gonna use and then let them scale it down from there. So I gotta basically mess around with this one with different background colors, and I probably want to make one of the ship, one of the fighter, and then deliver those and see how that works out. So that's basically my rough plan. Oh, this is a fucked up AI art. So a while back, I'm reading an article on how, like, I was Googling, like, why does Microsoft Edge run into the background all the time? Like, it's like, is it necessary? Should I be closing it? It's like things like that. And I mean, I know there's reasons that Windows uses Internet Explorer under the hood. That's always been the state of affairs since Windows 98. But this picture jumped out at me because I'm reading an article about Windows, about Microsoft Edge in the year 2024. And in this article in the year 2024, I'm getting a picture of a 1980s computer, basically, with 1980s peripherals. But it gets even worse. Like, I can actually see something that resembles a 8-inch floppy drive.
Yes.
But it's not big enough to be an 8-inch floppy drive, but it definitely looks like the front of one. Then you got the 5 1/4 bays up here, but like it clearly just has like, I don't know, some weird design. You got what looked like a series of external tape and external zip, external floppy drives, external cartridge drives of various types, but like none of them are actually real. And at first glance, I thought I was so clever at spotting an AI image, but then I realized that it said it in the caption. It said in the caption generated on a dolly, but I didn't check that until like 5 minutes later. So I eyeballed this, and of course, some of the hallmarks of a generated image would be like the keyboard is melting together. Like it's like all of this. So it's like, how did this happen? How did it fuck it up this bad? I'm not saying that it's a big deal that it fucked it up. If anything, I think the lazy bastard who made the article is to blame. I mean, like, if that lazy bastard couldn't be troubled to spend 2 more minutes finding a picture of a modern computer, like, okay, good job, you generated AI art so you could write your article. But it's like, come on, man, like, take 5 more minutes and select an image that's actually relevant. Like, Jesus, I don't know. That irked me a little bit because I felt like it was exceptionally lazy of the person writing the article.
Yeah, there's like thousands of pictures of Altairs and all kinds of, Apple IIe's and.
Well, that's the reason why this image came out. Because I'm not saying the guy should use those pictures. He should be using a picture of a modern computer, because the article was about Microsoft Edge. It wasn't an article about.
I forgot what we were talking about.
But yeah, if you wanted, you could get pictures of Altairs. And in fact, I think this was generated off of pictures of Altairs and all of that stuff. And I do want to say hi to Disney Sheepherder, who is tuning into us on Twitter X. There we are, Twitter X, just like the rocket company. But anyway, so I think what happened was this AI model. I mean, AI machine learning is really what it's called, but this machine learning model was trained on probably a bunch of images, pictures of people's computer collections, people's computer labs, people's home labs from the 80s, 90s. Maybe it was trained off of a lot of low resolution scans, because like, how else is it going to screw up the vent like this? I mean, that speaker grill just looks like shit. That keyboard looks like shit. And I'm thinking, like, if you get enough pictures taken at various different angles and you train your art model off of that, this is what you're going to get out of it. You're going to, like, it's like, and I'm not saying that the guy who wrote the article is responsible for what went into training the model, but I'd say the guy who wrote the article is responsible for not maybe looking for a more relevant and more current image. But this is why I'm not scared of AI. I mean, it can't even get the basic art right. I mean, maybe I'm downplaying a little bit.
Is that a 3-bay 5 1/4 drive? How did they do the middle one?
This one right here?
Yeah, how do they if there's 3 slots there, how do they run the middle slot, middle 5 1/4?
So let's see. I got the top one over here, right? Then we got the
Yeah.
bottom 5 1/4. So I think there's 2 bays here. It's like right under the triangular lip.
Oops.
Like, so there's one,
Oh, that's a divider.
and there's 2.
Okay.
But it's a bad image anyway. So it's like I could be wrong, and it might actually have a 3rd slot. But what I do see that's fucking weird. I see 1, 2, and then I see like a 3.5-inch floppy slot. But is it really? And extra vents. So it's like I can actually probably find something that resembles one of these.
Are those ether? Those can't be ether. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Well, no, this could be everything because like these are just rectangular holes as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look, what do you see over here on this 1980s computer? What do you see next to this 80s computer?
I see a mouse, which and they did have very, very, very rare in the early 80s.
What's even rarer? What's even rarer than a mouse on a 1980s computer?
Oh, one with no wire on it.
Yes, exactly. So it's like there's just like it's just like I don't know. It just amused me like over analyzing this image from different angles, you know.
And it also looks like an Apple 1-button mouse.
Yeah, it does actually resemble that too. Because at first I'm thinking like Microsoft, you know, curved mouse or whatever. But then I'm seeing what you're seeing now. Some of the examples where I think the imagery was trained, you've got some retro hardware here. So here's like an IMS Associates, or basically MSI 8080 is basically, I think it's cooler than the Altair. But I mean, it's the same shit basically. Bottom line, you know, I think the Altair has its fame for good reason. But this is the computer for the movie War Games. I'm sorry, but you know, like we definitely see like I think some of the lineage here, or some of the things that like the resemblances, even if they're somewhat superficial on my part. You know, I mean, I'm seeing it here. And you know, you got a lot of. There's actually yeah, here we are. These are some 8-inch or 10-inch floppy drives. I think they're 8-inch floppy drives. But you know, the type of peripherals people had back then, and then they had like this. Almost looks like that's also a floppy disk enclosure setup right there. Back then, you could like literally operate the computer off of a teletype. You're probably more familiar almost with this, but like you got your tape drive where you know you got modem sounds essentially on a tape. You got your, that's a weird keyboard. I suspect they had either a video display terminal or a printer that worked in conjunction with this particular keyboard. I think something's missing in this picture.
I think that keyboard is what Disney Sheepherder is talking about. If the computer didn't work, you could use it as a weapon.
Oh, yeah. That one definitely would qualify.
You could run a truck over some of the early IBM computers and they would hold up.
Dude, I got an IBM Model M keyboard. That thing weighs like 8 pounds. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's a pretty hefty keyboard. It also has a nice bezel to it. It's got like let's see here. I misspelled the word Model M. Yeah, this one right here has like you can even see the angle. Like there's that little curvature on the inside, and I think that's a late model. Without that's a 10 keyless Model M. I didn't even know they made a 10 keyless. But like right here, like I think this guy did a review where he did a good job of getting a nice picture. But when you look at it from the side, it's shaped like a wedge. It's got legs that stand it up properly, and between the legs, you can see like the keys are like you can just see like that curvature set right there, and how the keys are angled in order to sort of, I don't know if that's what they call ergonomic or not. Now, what makes it not ergonomic? I mean, the design is sound. It feels good to type on, but I suspect that the answer to like typing a lot is to avoid repetitive stress injury is to have like keys that you can actuate with less force. So I was researching this a while ago, and they have it like where, you know, this key needs 10 grams of force to press down on it, or 5 grams of force. So the more force you got to put in, the more muscle you're putting in. And with repetitive stress injury, you got your reflexors, which are like pulling, and you got your inflexes, which are what lets you bring the fingers up like this. And when you type a lot, the muscles on this side get stronger, and it's that imbalance that contributes to carpal tunnel and things of that nature. So, if you are purposely slamming down on the keys, which I sometimes do, that's not going to help. If you have a keyboard that's intentionally dense, that's not going to help. So I like the Model M, but I haven't gone out of my way to use the Model M because it's just probably not long-term healthy. This is the DAS keyboard, DAS keyboard that I've had. I used to not use it in my bedroom, but I got tired of the quiet keyboard. I bought a really nice quiet keyboard. It was an alright keyboard, but it felt very mushy to type on. I don't know. It didn't feel right. You know what I mean? And so the only thing that I would get next is either what they call an EC switch keyboard, I think it's called electrocapacitive switches or some shit like that.
I've tried those bubble keyboards or whatever they are that I don't have the word for it.
Are they the circular shits or the ones because we got silicone membrane is very standard, right? Oh, this is like it says bubble on it. Is that like literally a thing? Do they use EC switches?
I don't know. I'm just it's like those little some of the early security alarms had just like a raised bubble plastic
wafer, like the wafer shits.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, sorry, I'm boomering for a word right now. I can't.
Oh, no worries. So this is an interesting thing you might learn soon. When you have what do you call it? A USB microphone that has its own headphone jack on it. Sometimes Windows will automatically make that your default output. So you'll plug your headphones in the normal way and you won't hear something. It'll be coming out of this. But what I use this is a plugin for Chrome called Audio Pick. And right now my sound is coming out of my sound interface because I have one taped to the side of my tower. And if I click on here, headphones, Samsung G-Track Pro, this will make the audio for this particular tab come out of the headphone jack on my microphone. And why that's useful is because right now I have you coming out of desktop audio. So if I share my desktop audio right now, people are going to hear an echo. So in OBS, I got to tell it to, instead of using my main desktop audio, to use my microphone's headphone jack. And then now when I play sound, people will be able to hear it. Can I hear you still? Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. It's funny you should mention this because I had the exact same problem 2 days ago with this Sennheiser mic. I rebooted while it was still plugged in, and my system thought that it was the main sound card.
Yep.
I had no sound, and when I did get it back, it was still connected all funny, and anyways, it was...
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think we can actually touch on that. But real quick, let's catch up on the chat real quick. I see we got some updated messages here. Hey, what's up, Maria? And a new subscriber. I've been subbed to Maria for over a year, and now you sub? No, I'm kidding. It's wonderful to have you here, Maria. And Maria does really cool content. If you want to revisit Halloween, guys, check out her content from the Halloween month. I enjoyed it. It was good. So let's see what you get. This is what you get with proprietary AI. Exactly. It's not made with love. So what I want to see is when people bitch about AI art, I want to see people train their own art models. Like, I want to learn how to train my own art model off of bad drawings and then maybe get it to generate more bad drawings. But the idea is that I want to use my bad artwork to train the model so that I can generate unique bad artwork. And look, I mean, you only need to learn how to draw a few things well once. So maybe like you practice over and over again until you get something down pat. And so the idea is that like it can be a force multiplier. Like you don't have to steal from other people's art. Like I don't like how I think people should read the terms and conditions, terms of service. But yeah, I don't like that deviant art was just taking other people's art and using it to train a model. But if it's in the terms of service and people don't read it, tough shit, But like, that's why people read the terms of service. That's why when people publicize it, you have a choice. You can say, you know what? I'm not going to upload anything else to DeviantArt, or I'm going to click the opt-out button that DeviantArt made available, and I can empathize with that, because it's like, people like are gonna essentially be using DeviantArt to promote themselves, yet at the same time gradually supplying the opposite, those who wish to find cheaper ways to do, to do without them, I guess, right? To do without a real artist, I mean.
I'm always impressed when somebody like Duck Vader can create consistent pictures every time he does so.
Duck Vader? Is that a guy who... Oh, I got you. Well, question is he, or is he just showing you the result after he tries, or does he do it live? Like...
Oh, no, no, he's just posting memes on Twitter with this character of Duck Vader, and they're very consistent as far as the facial features. They do vary from time to time a little bit, but it's I just haven't found what service allows you to refeed an image into future attempts.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, you could do iterations and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Punkwater was discussing that with the Dolly or whatever Bing uses somehow. By the way, those are my sheep in the background. And also, he says, sorry for the shame. You shame us both. Yeah, you ever, when The Simpsons used to be good, I don't know, is it still good? I haven't watched it in a decade. But there was an episode where, like, Lisa Simpson meets Amy Tan, the lady who wrote Joy Luck Club, and she's, like, giving her, like, whole synopsis about why she loved the Joy Luck Club. And then Amy Tan's like, you got it all wrong. You shame us both. And like she said, it's very matter of fact, like Asian, like it's like smug Asian like tone.
Yeah.
Like, you shame us both. And Lisa's like, oh. So this is a popular one amongst the flat Earth community, who believe the Earth. They believe that this is evidence that NASA photoshops everything. This is like actually one of the few things that actually gets a full disk image of the Earth from afar, like without Photoshop, basically. This is generating the whole image. This is the Deep Space Climate Observatory. And I love how I still haven't touched on Star Wars. We better do that for like the last half hour of the show soon.
I do have a space question after you get done explaining this.
Awesome. That sounds good to me. So basically, bottom line is that, like, I showed it to my coworker. He goes, that's obviously fake. But it's like, if anything, if it's obviously fake, that goes a long way in making it look real, because if it was fake, you would think that people faking it would go through more effort. So what made it look fake? Well, basically, like, you can see this color fringing here, and the moon's out of focus. Well, this particular camera, this telescope, actually, this camera/telescope, is designed to take pictures of the atmosphere. It's not designed to take pictures of the moon. It's just that, yeah, the moon is occasionally going to pass in front of it. And two, to get these color images, it's using a filter wheel. And I actually am quite familiar with filter wheels, as I do monochrome imaging with filter wheels to get color. And so you're actually seeing that these pictures are there's 3 pictures, red, blue, and green, taken 30 seconds apart. And that's why you're seeing the color fringing there. So this is just evidence of a filter wheel, which further supports why this is a real image to me. Like, and a lot of times I get into arguments with people, their talking points just suck. Like, they don't know how any of it works. So it's like, at least, if they knew how it worked, they might be able to give me a good argument. But man, it's just, I don't know, kind of annoying. I wouldn't say sad. It could be sad at times.
Yeah, and it's a 4,000-year-old conspiracy. That's the one that gets me.
That's another factor. Like, I mean, it's like, we have the things that a lot of talking points suck. Like, we have strong evidence. And I mean, I cover that. I don't want to go in that rabbit hole and waste people's, because I harp on this a lot. But like that guy, he's like a dentist who does flat Earth, moon hoax videos. So he believes the moon landing was fake, but that, I guess he believes the Earth is round because he says that the Saturn V rocket never left low Earth orbit. So that's implying that he believes the Earth is round because low Earth orbit is a thing in his world. But it's like, it's like, okay, what, in fairness, I can prove the Earth is round. I can't prove that something landed on the moon, like not with my own camera, like I'm taking people's word for it. But that's because when I look up the Apollo mission status reports, they're like newsreels from the 60s showing you every step of the process that goes into like building the rocket. It just like, it's like there's so much that you wouldn't fake. Let's see here. like if I just show, in fact, they have them on the. Apparently, they have what the heck are these? Apollo mission report. Oh, these are documents. Okay, well, that's cool too. But I was looking for the newsreel. But yeah, before I forget, what is your question?
Oh, I just heard about the type of stars called FU Orionis stars.
FU Orionis stars? Let me see.
Yeah, there's apparently one like 1,500 light years.
Oh, let's take a look at it. Let's see if we can pull that up here.
And I guess they're early in their stellar evolution. They have like a huge accretion disk or another star that they can feed from, and they jet for like 75 years.
Oh, so that's a pretty short-lived thing right there. Or it's a short, at least for the out. So they'll continuously jet for about 75 years, which I guess is long for us, short in terms of stellar time scales.
Yes, very much true.
Well, we got two ways we could look at these here. This is probably the less fun way, but I just want to see if it's, you know, but sometimes stars have different names. In fact, so it's a type of star, right? It's not the name of the star. So I gotta get one like.
There's the FU Orionis object, and that's Orionis.
Yep. I think it's a category, unless it is the name. Because
it's also a category as well.
Ah, I got you. Well, let's see here. We're gonna get the we're gonna turn off the ground. Okay, so we have one right over here. So that one, I got the name is V1057 Cygni.
Yeah,
so
I just looked it up on Wikipedia myself.
So we're gonna open up Steam, and we're gonna open up the gamepad application, and yeah, this is the app I use for getting my gamepad, my PS5 gamepad, and we're gonna just open up no plugins or no extra plugins. Okay, it's loading up right now. So let's see, did I miss the I believe the Earth is like an 8-bit video game. And remember, similes have the word like or as in them. But jokes aside, let me see. I mean, it's not really a joke, just anyway, but let's see on the serious side, mentioning this because your lead mentioned oh yeah. I did mention Star Wars. We're going to touch on Star Wars for like the last few minutes of this, for sure, at least. I'm making a manga version of the cutscene of Han and Jabba from the original New Hope. Almost done. I'll send it to you to proof. Oh, hell yeah. Now, to proof, does that mean I got to proofread it? Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm actually pretty good with grammar. Now, maybe comic books have different rules. I mean, manga, I think the first proofreading step, I'm going to be like, hey, you printed it backwards. Because, you know, with manga, you got to read it from the back cover. I mean, it's the front cover to Japan, but back cover to us, right? It's like if you ever go to a Jewish holy place, they got like the same thing. Their holy books are printed backwards too. I mean, they're not backwards, just they do it the opposite, you know. So let's see if we get this camera angle here. Okay, good. So now we're gonna go into here, and I forgot the name of that star. I mean, it's in my browser tab. I can click on it.
V1057 Sig.
V1057. Huh. Yeah, okay, I see what I did wrong. Okay, good. I got this. All right, so it doesn't have it there. Sometimes I gotta get the alternate designation here. Because yesterday I was looking for Tau Ceti, and it turned out Tau Ceti was like a completely different name. I gotta say, wow, okay, that's how that works. Okay, just I was looking at the VStream bot and how it generates forwards the messages from different places. So what I was.
Oh no, we lost sound.
It works. Okay, so that button, switches to this view, and the idea is that when I want to mute my microphone, it puts a big alert there so that I don't forget to unmute. And
Oh, cool.
I didn't fully set it up yet, but like when I hit the button by accident, that's what it just did basically. Like, so I don't even know how I got to that. Like, I'm trying to backtrack right now how I got to that. I mean, it doesn't. Oh, here we are. And it mutes the audio when I switch to it. So that's good. At least that was like there was a chain of actions I had to program into that to get it to work. All right, so we got in the Cygnus constellation, so we could always look for the constellation if we can't identify it. And apparently it has other designations. So we got V1057 Sig, we got LKHA 190. No, none of these names are actually names we would use in our own world. Oh, it's a double star classification. Okay, that explains why it might have a different name. It's double stars. Basically, they look like. How do I phrase it? One star. Yeah, actually, that's exactly how you phrase it. A double star looks like a single star, but then when you zoom in on it enough, that's when you see that it's it's actually that it's actually two stars. This is weird. So the overlay, it's telling me where the star is, but it's not actually showing me the star. Right, we're going to press the letter G and just fly to it. And sometimes I think it helps to go, oh, I'm sorry. I always forget to do that. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. We got a black screen.
Oh, no. Something the government doesn't want you to find out about.
Wow, that's even... Okay, there we go. I think it was just a little lag thing there. So what I'm going to do actually is we're going to go back to Sol because I think that, it'll help us see the constellations better. So now that we're back at Sol, we can like turn our orbits on and then get like, the correct view from our, home system. So now I got to figure out how to turn on constellations. I think there's a button here on the right that does this. Oh, that's interesting. It's actually hiding. Okay, now I see what happened. All right. All right. So now we just got to find Cygnus. Let's go to Earth because I feel like I can find my, the sun is too bright. It's blocking my view. Screw it. I was just going to do this. All right. So we need Cygnus. I feel like there's an easier way to do this, but we're going to just do it like this because why not? Ah, that sounds like a fun constellation there. The Sextans. Okay, that's dirty. I'm sorry. Lupus, that does not seem like a fun constellation.
No, that seems like it makes your knees hurt.
Yep. We got Sculptor, Formax, Orion. Okay, I know it's Orion, but when I was a kid, I think it was Orion. So actually, you could see Orion's nebula with your eyes. So normally, you ever see Orion's belt? Do you know what Orion's belt looks like?
Yes. I kind of use it to tell time.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's cool. So
at night when I'm smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because the position of that, it'd be like just like anything else in the sky. It's going to move as the Earth rotates. That makes a lot of sense. So you got the 3 dots there. And normally, obviously our eyes can't see the magnitudes. But if we zoom in, what you'll see is that I'm trying to get this centered correctly. So you got Orion's belt lined up here, the 3 stars, and I'm going to fly towards it slowly so that we can get a big view of it maybe. In fact, yeah, we're flying towards it now. And look like the spatial relationship of those stars is going to be weird. But its bottom line is these 2 bright ones are the feet. These 3 stars are the belt. So if you look between Orion's knees, essentially, right? Because if these are his feet and this is his hips, his knees are somewhere here. So like where this crosshair is, and I'll zoom in on it. And where this crosshair is. If you look between Orion's knees, you'll see something. And if you're at a dark sky site, you might even see the color blue or color purple there. But You take a
Yeah,
camera phone.
I see
Mhm.
purple.
Exactly. So you take a camera phone, or you take you know, you put the camera on long exposure mode. You'll actually see Orion's nebula, which I mean, I don't think this is exactly how it looks, but it is basically like a, oh shit. Let's center it. There we go. Now we got it. So, you know, obviously we don't really know what it looks like in 3D, but we do know the stellar distances. So we do know what it looks like in the relationship of the Earth. But what was I forgot what I was getting at. Oh yeah, we were looking for Cygnus. Uh but you know, bottom line is that you take binoculars, you take your camera, put it in like dark mode. It can sometimes actually see that nebula. If you put it like on a fence post and let it take a 5-second exposure, you'll see something there. Huh. Oh shit. I just flew out of the galaxy by accident.
Oh no, now you're going to develop psychic powers. I don't know if
I
that was
broke
the
it.
first or second episode of Star Trek, the original series.
Oh yeah, yeah, going out to the Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. Where no man, I think I went way out by accident. I don't even think we're in the galaxy anymore. So I disabled procedural stars. But now there's something wrong here, I think. Okay, let's just go back home real quick. Oh, I clicked on a different star. Oops. All right. Oh yeah, I went way out of the Milky Way. You're right. I do. My eye's gonna turn silver in a minute. All right, there we go. Back at home. But let's see here. So, do they have other stars? Maybe we can find another star with that type of capability there. Or let me see something here. I'm just gonna try something out here. I think I can find something here. Oh, here we are. Type of. Okay, so it's a F7 2E star. That's apparently a type of star. Well, actually, all I need to do is find a Cygnus constellation. We've been over this, so okay, I'm gonna get the Cygnus constellation. Hold on. I just need to get the right location on the grid, and then I can go to it. So, what does this have to do with Star Wars? Well, in Star Wars, they fight wars against stars, and oh, Deneb is in the middle of the Cygnus, I think. So we can, and the Vega. So I think I can do something with this. All right. So first, we're gonna find Deneb. Then we're gonna turn on constellations. Okay, there's a little arrow. Okay, Cygnus is down here. It's like that cross-looking thing. So we got Cygnus in this little grid, you know, in this blue area right here. We definitely have it. So now, I presume the star we seek might be one of these, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's like if it's like not even in the constellation. It's just in, like, you know, it's like visually. Oh, and look at that. You see how the constellations get bent when you fly towards them?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's like they're not flat. They're in 3D, so it's bound to happen like that. But now we can maybe get like, I'm gonna go back here to the Wikipedia page, and we got like an actual star map here. So we got like Deneb is in there, Lyra is in there. So now we're gonna see. Okay, Cygni is a suspected binary. Suspected. So maybe because it's so bright they can't separate it. It is a variable star of the Fu Orionis type, and the second of the Fu Orionis variable to be discovered. Oh shit! So this is like kind of like a newish thing, huh? I mean, 2002, I consider it new.
Yeah, it says like the 1969 to 70. I think the first one was discovered in 1927.
Ah, okay, so it goes back a bit. So now we got, it's 3,000 light years from the sun in the North America Nebula, which, okay, I've taken pictures of that before. It has an apparent visual magnitude of 12.4. Basically, the higher the visual magnitude, the dimmer the star is. So usually things get harder to see, I think, above a magnitude 9 or 8, depending on the star. And anything like a nebula or a galaxy, as you get to a higher magnitude, you need to like basically, you need some electronics, film, and extended exposure to get to be able to see it. So now we got that, and then let's see here. Initial classification was as a young T Tauri star during the 70s. It underwent a nova-like outburst, increasing the brightness. For the next 10 years, the brightness stayed at a plateau before decreasing rapidly in the mid-1990s. As of 2013, it is 1.5 magnitudes brighter than it was before the nova-like event. The mass of FU Ori objects is estimated to be in a range of 0.3 to 0.7 ems. I think that's solar masses, but don't quote me on that. A faint binary companion was discovered in 2016 and designated component B. It is located at, okay, so that was, there was a brief companion next to it, I guess, and that's where, I'm sorry, there's a faint, star that they detected at some point in 2016, and that was when it became a binary. So apparently they didn't even know it was a binary star until then. It is located at a projected separation of about 30 plus or minus 5 AU. Okay, so it's about 30 to 35 or 25 to 30 AU, which is the distance from the Earth to the Sun. The 1 AU, 1 astronomical unit, is the Earth to the Sun, basically. The 1970 outburst of the... Okay, so we got a nice history. There's an accretion disk. I want to see this. It's like they're talking about some accretion disk, like I'm kind of like, I feel
Some
like
of the science communicators out there are selling this recent research on this star as the star that has been going supernova for 50 years. So
yeah, so at that point, it can't be going supernova for 50 years, right?
no, it's more like it's almost like a black hole, an accretion disk that's swirling and creating jets and puffing up really.
Yeah,
Anyways.
that's kind of what I see it like. So like, and I think that's the story with a lot of variable stars, like it's like they're gonna do something. It's gonna be they're outbursting material. They're something's disrupting them, and it could be any number of things. Sometimes depending on where they're located. So there's just even having like a big gas giant next too close to a star. Stuff like this. But I'm not saying this is what it is. I'm just giving spitballing ideas here.
Yeah.
But what I want, so what I'm looking here is I'm trying to see like if I see this has an NGC catalog number, and that's a different star. It's Chi Cygni. So let's keep going here. Okay, that's Cygnus 032. So best one I can find right here is this one here. Maybe I have to update my copy of Space Engine to allow me to see this, but V1057 Cygni is right here. So maybe if we eyeball it, I can, line up with it, And of course, if I'm going to have to look at an advertisement and the picture doesn't load, that doesn't really help. Right, we're going to load the low resolution one. So I think there's like a little triangle of stars right over here. So maybe if I, oops, oh, jeebus. How did I do that? Those are all the constellations we know from afar.
Well, you've got a pointer.
Yeah, I'm going to fly into it automatically. So I released 2 Star Wars related videos today. One was gameplay of the game Star Wars Squadrons. I released it really late at night, and I actually went through the effort of recording it at 120 frames per second, although I'm pretty sure that YouTube doesn't support that. I was hoping it would. I wanted to upload it to, Vimeo, but I need to shorten the video because I can only upload 5 gigs a week to Vimeo. And I'm not trying to spend, so I can pay monthly. My current plan is monthly, but if you want to do like the premium plan, they want you to basically pay $300 up front. Like it's like one of these things. It's like $20 billed annually, and it's like the website is like, fuck you, pay me annually. And maybe they're right. Maybe it's like you don't want people uploading like terabytes of video and then stopping the payment in the middle of the year and then bitching and moaning that their stuff got deleted, 3 months later, So maybe like, I can empathize with corporations, companies like that sometimes why they make these decisions, because you got to account for people being, people.
This is true. You do weed out the bad customers by charging higher prices.
And it's like, that person is, there's a commitment there, like if they're paying a year in advance, there's a commitment. They're not going to like, they're going to take control and responsibility. They're not going to fuck around, and stuff. It's like they want to do the thing, that they're there to play, they're there to do something, to get shit done. Whereas me, I'm only in it for a month. Maybe I decide that 6 months from now my credit card changes and I don't renew it. I'm just like, it's not that important to me. But, it's like they want that commitment. If they're going to let me warehouse or upload large amounts of data on a monthly basis, they want their money a year in advance. And I think I could actually empathize with that. So I'm trying to turn off the constellations again. Okay. So, let me see here. Maybe I have to put a space in the middle. Let's see if we get a list of these other stars. So what the hell are they called? Orionus stars, or I made up a name here, but what was the variable? I'm hoping Google will. Okay, here we are. Here's another one, V372. Let's see if that's a thing. Nope. They're giving me all stars that don't. Oh, hey, wait. Oh, come on. So close. Let's just pick this one. But, like, so close. I'm getting V372 or instead of V376. I mean, I'm getting 376 instead of 372, bottom line. So we'll just go to that one. So anyway, I uploaded footage from it. Yeah, it's just a close-up of the star here. It's not. Let's see if there's a companion next to it. I think it is something. Okay, so it looks like we're seeing the Barry center. Basically, that's like where the gravity is centered, equilibrium. And then we got, its neighbor here. So in theory, if we fly away from it, it should become, hard to resolve at some point, I would assume. So, real quick, I want to know where the heck is Sol? Okay, good. It's behind it. So there's our little star right there. So now we're going to go back here. And we're going to click on the Barry center and see how long it takes them to become one. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like there's of the stars that, very quickly it becomes one star. Like, so that's like essentially like if either one of the neighboring, the companion or the star itself were to change in brightness, that would be, enough to like make it difficult to see the other one or to make one visible that previously wasn't visible before. Oh yeah, the brightness setting with the webcam from before, that's basically why a lot of Anton Petrov's early videos, he looks like his contrast is sort of flat compared to the rest of the back image. It's partly because I think he had to adjust his contrast to make the camera accommodate him in front of his green screen.
I've got to get more blue lighting on my setup here. I tried hooking up my 600 watt high pressure sodium.
Ooh, that's cool.
Hood light, grow light, and it was like pure orange. It was not kind to.
Yeah, that one. I mean, especially because that's a grow. Like you said, it's for plants. Plants like their red and blue light more, and the HPSs, they're literally putting out the wavelengths that are appropriate for plant health or. And it's also interesting, like some trees, it messes up the photo cycle. When they used to have plant trees next to high pressure sodium streetlights, you would see the trees blooming or behaving differently based on that light or leaning in towards the light, getting the nighttime photosynthesis. But, we got like some stuff here, unfortunately I want to see if I can, I guess like, I just want to find one like jet, right? Like a black hole with a jet in it or something. At this point, like it's not, and I'll do more research on this, but for now I just want to show something impressive, right? Something cool. So let's see here. Starburst Galaxy Centaurus A. Let's see if that's a thing. Okay, that's a thing. It's a thing. And I wish I was at Earth right now, because I feel like the most realistic view you're going to get of something like that is from the Earth side. Then again, we're leaving the galaxy, so I guess I am looking at it from the Earth side already. It looks like someone took a dump. Oh shit, I'm sorry, I did it again. I didn't show you, I don't know how long I've been on the wrong camera angle, but yeah, there we go. It's like a donut. It is like a little galaxy. It's not really much of a jet though, but it does look cool. Now, I get once in a while I encounter like people who believe that black holes are bullshit. And this one I'm not like, it's not the hill I'm gonna die on. It's not like I'm gonna be like, they're wrong, because maybe they have a point, but I am curious about some of the reasons why black holes are caught in the dispute. And I'm not talking about like your average, I'm not talking about a flat earther or a moon hoaxer. It's like, like more or less a person with their head screwed on straight who, considers it bullshit. And I think it may be part of it is like, when you hear about dark matter, it sounds like a lot of money is, there's certain things like climate change, dark matter, sound like opportunities to get funding, and it's like a nebulous goal. It's like, we need to look for this thing that we don't know what it actually is. So it's like sort of like
string theory.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, that one's cool because like, that's actually a real example we can reference, right? It's like a thing that like people are aware of. It was a thing that people used to actually take seriously. And then like I even read a book by Brian Greene. I didn't really read the whole thing because I was like, not really interested in it. But like, even though he's like, yeah, we admit that string theory isn't a thing, it's still relevant. And so it's like the guy has a way of making money, I guess, talking about the methodology that went into. I don't really know why it would be relevant to talk about something that's been disproven, but and we got another one. We got M87. So we're gonna go back to Sol and then we're gonna fly to M87. Because M87 is that one in the bottom left corner of my screen. In fact, let's get a nice big picture. Yeah, that one right there. And you can see it's a very nice grainy image. So, it's a real picture. But now we'll go back here. But, so dark matter, like, I don't necessarily think it's completely bullshit. I see it more like as a placeholder for the equations. Just like, because like the math doesn't always work. It's like, we know the Newtonian stuff works. Okay, M87 is not in Stellarium, or at least not Stellarium in this particular space engine app. Maybe I have it in Stellarium though.
Dusty Lamborghini was asking which space engine app that you were using.
Oh, literally the one you were just seeing, that was literally Space Engine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of it. And there's like a low cost or free version. I forgot if it was free or not. I bought the paid version after having it for like a year, over a couple of years. Because it has some features I liked, like the camera path editor. Like I could literally, instead of recording video inside the app like directly, you can record the camera path and then record the video afterwards. So essentially you're recording like the flight plan, as I fly around something. It's recording the maneuvers and all of the stuff I'm doing, but it's not actually recording video. But then after you record the movement, essentially then you tell it to rerun it. And I think it's less CPU intensive to record it afterwards because like it's already knows where it's going to fly. So,
oh, yeah.
I don't know if it actually does anything differently, but I feel like what it could do is like, it could record like a lower frame rate, but as long as everything moves slower, it would be the same thing. I don't think it's doing anything that advanced, but as I understand it, there are ways to export super high resolution textures from this. You can export things in the Pro version in a certain way. So there's some things that I think sidestep the computational, limits in computing power. But I haven't really messed with it enough. I just, right now I just recorded some movement basically. So what was the last thing we wanted to look at in here? Well, honestly, I gotta investigate these stellar jets more. Like I don't have much, but a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago, Dave, there was like a variable star that was in my eastern sky that was supposedly like getting ready to outburst, like go like from like 0 to quadruple brightness or some shit, you know? And so I had my telescope trained on it because when it's cloudy outside, sometimes those are the nights where it's like you can't take good pictures of a nebula. But if a star supernovas and you know it's going to supernova or do something, then if you have your telescope aimed at it, you can at least detect the change in brightness. So I did record that for a couple of nights, but you know, to my knowledge, it wasn't in the news, so I never went back to the tape to check it. But real quick, let's touch on Star Wars real quick, only because I didn't talk about Star Wars at all today, and I just feel like
Cool.
I don't even really like. It's not that I don't care about Star Wars, just that as far as good Star Wars content goes, other people have already done it. So where did I close the restream? No, I didn't. Let me just find the restream window. I lost it. I mean, I'm here. We're talking, so it's not like I. Oh, here we go. I found it.
It was the Obi-Wan series that just where I gave up. When the little Leia was outrunning two grown men who were running like they were in a Three Stooges short. I just couldn't suspend disbelief anymore. I just dropped out.
That's funny because oh yeah, that's funny because that was kind of like what was it? I stopped on Mandalorian basically. Like I was done once the you know, Gina Carano season was over. I tried to give it a chance in season 2. It was all right, but I don't know. It's like I said, I didn't even touch Obi-Wan, so I don't know. But I've heard plenty of complaints about Obi-Wan. I remember there was a scene. By the way, yeah, Pops is doing a hell of a stream. I think I'm gonna wrap up really soon, so I can send people over to him. I hope he's not ending it. So real quick, so this is a guy. He did a lot of good Star Wars content today. So I do. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's over. Okay, that's all right. Well, I do recommend a replay. There's a lot of good people on this one here. They were talking about the Phantom Menace. You had Arwen Avalon. You had the Derelict. You had Justice Arlena. You had Magitech Mags. She's a cool cat. And you had Pops, of course, which is his show. And yeah, this I would recommend tuning into if it was still on right now. I would highly recommend it. I actually had intended to do this, but we had so much fun talking about random shit, David, that, you know, it slipped my mind. But yeah, good stuff right here. And later, Gators. I can't believe I'm actually, there we go. It's like, yeah, but I'm gonna drop a link here. You guys should skim through this and leave comments on it. Definitely, like, leave comments saying DJ Raid. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But there was actually a couple of good things that Pops did today. So what I'm definitely looking forward to catching on the replay is the morning show where he had my boy on. Well, like, you know, everyone's boy. He's cool. He had Eric O'Sullivan and my boys, my homeboys. Nah, but jokes aside, these two people and the Ginger Ninja. He's a real gentleman too. He's a good artist and you know, lives in Japan. There we go. Now we can hear audio. I can't hear the audio, but you can. But he got his trilogy from the 90s in the background right over here. Eric's got a bunch of cool stuff here. So I'm looking forward to watching this because I remember last year he had a whole block of content and some of it was, you know, like just like showing collectibles, inviting guests on to show their stuff, right? I said to add that to my playlist. Apparently, Ginger Ninja is literally drawing a face inside of Darth Vader's eye with a pen that looks like a cigar.
Yeah, that is a fat pen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to look like a tree or if it's made of cork, but that pen looks like a cigar right there, or a pencil. Like,
hello, Zombie Box Reviews.
Hey, what's up, Zombie Box Reviews? And I see, can't wait for the Disney show where Will Smith from MIB zaps Obi-Wan so he forgets Leia exists before Yoda reminds him in Empire. That's a good way to fix the plot hole. Oh, cool. Disney Sheepherd had a couple of interesting things. Yeah, 60 hertz.
Just to speak to that point that Disney Sheepherd made about string theory, Henry Gates Jr. did some work where he found error correction codes embedded in a particular form of string theory math.
Whew, that's interesting. That's literally, huh. String theory is just my English. String theory is just mathematically intimidating and has produced numerous results, some of which may seem absurd or incomprehensible to some, but to me, it still has some relevance. Though I would lean more towards M theory. Okay, that's actually kind of elucidating on these things. You know, I mean, why I should maybe give it more shit about string theory, or at least look into both M theory and string theory. Maybe that will help me, you know, build up an understanding. And let's see, Dusty Lamborghini. This software looks amazing. Did you go over it in some of your older videos? I did. I went over it a couple of times in the past few weeks, Dusty Lamborghini, including, I did a couple where I just kind of went through the more newly labeled dwarf planets, which are basically, you know, like basically planets like comparable in size to Pluto. Let's see here. And let's see here. Yeah, 60 hertz is, a lot of people don't do 60 hertz. That's the thing. Like, people like they buy 120 hertz monitors, and some people aren't even doing 30. And what's annoying is my friend, he had a film teacher in high school, and the guy would be like, "Oh, 24 FPS is all you need. You can't perceive the difference between 24 FPS and better." It's like, well, yes, the movie people make movies. Okay, I get it. They think that that's the way to go. Cool. Okay, and a lot of times directors are accustomed to directing and filming in 24 FPS, so I understand that works. A lot of broadcast TV was done on film and then transferred to tape, and so that's 24 FPS. But I would agree that most human beings cannot perceive the difference between 24 and 30 FPS. But you can definitely perceive the difference between 24 and 60 FPS. And anybody who says you can't
yes.
Is either lying or doesn't know. You know, so yeah, you can definitely see that. And so from 60 to 120, I have trouble perceiving it, but I think that's because a lot of displays are faking it. Like LCDs, they have to do a lot of tricks to give you those high refresh rates. Like, there are things they could do to the display panel to lower the response time, but there's things they do, like, essentially, you could delay the video signal going into the display, and then if you know that the bottom of the screen takes longer to update than the top of the screen, you can essentially send the video signal to the top half of the screen late, so that it gives you the illusion that the signal is refreshing at a higher rate, you know? And I don't know if that's how they do it. I'm just kind of thinking of, like, brainstorming how I would do it if I was, you know, if I had to figure out how to do something like that. But the bottom line is, like, while CRTs could, like, deliver whatever refresh rate they have on a tin, like, they'll give you that 75 hertz, 80 hertz, whatever the CRT says it can do, it will do. A lot of times LCDs that report a high refresh rate, they're doing some kind of trickery. Some of them, they will turn off the LEDs, like, at a different rate. So, like, my bedroom TV does 120 hertz, but it doesn't really. What it does is it's a 60 hertz panel, but the LEDs that light the backlight are designed to flicker at 120 hertz. So essentially that helps to give that illusion of fast motion, but it's technically fake 120 hertz. It's not really, you know? So that's some of what goes on. I forgot how we got into that. I think we were talking about, oh yeah, we were talking about, yeah, I was reading the chat. So moving on, let's see if we got anything else here. Oh yeah, we've been over that. We got Zombie Box. Thanks for addressing that so quick. We'll check out those vids for sure. No doubt. But yeah, so, you know, I'm going to drop some links in the chat. So I think we already dropped the link from the last stream that Pops did. This is the stream I'm looking at right now. Apparently, YouTube generated a link that skips to the middle, so you might have to rewind the tape onto that if you guys want to see that stream from the beginning. And his content from last year was really bumping, but like this early morning stream that I just dropped a link to, it's going to have things in there. Like, it's going to have some old toy commercials. It's going to have some roll-in clips in there. He might even have a fake commercial in there somewhere, because at one point he did do something like that where Troy Petrelli made some like sort of like fake toy commercials, you know, for fun. And this is what Ginger Ninja was drawing right here. So now you got Vader's head in color, and you got Luke Skywalker's face being reflected. So I guess that's a reference to the scene in Empire when he goes into the cave. That's very nice. Let's see if we got Ginger Ninja's link in here so we could drop a link to him. We do not. How sacrilegious this is. No, okay, we're going to find him. Oh, here we are. Found it. Freeloader Miyazaki. There you go, guys. So you guys can check out the Ginger Ninja. And the only other thing I would touch on Star Wars here, yeah, him and Angry Canadian. In fact, if you look at that stream, you'll see a link to Angry Canadian in there too. He's the guy in the bottom left corner with the skull. That's Angry Canadian. So I'm going to drop him in there too. So now we're going to briefly touch upon some of what I uploaded today. Oh yeah, and there was a stream with Baron Orman tag on it. Let's touch on that real quick. Because like, this is a cool cat. I think he recorded this a week ago and uploaded it today if I had to guess, but I'm not really sure. Maybe they did it live. But Baron was on the last Monday show with Mike, Pacific 414. And what do you call it? Who else was it? I should know. Literally, Cash Money. We mentioned him before. And Disney Sheepherder is correcting me. He says it's Star Wars, my friend. Star Wars. Now I need to find snacks and comics.
I don't think Gator ever got started doing that last night on Snowdub's show.
He didn't get it, really? Yeah,
I talked about
too.
Star Wars all night long and never got on his little needle stuck on the record thing.
I can't hear Gator, but you can. I could hear a helicopter.
I could hear the helicopter. I just couldn't hear. I can't hear Gator.
And how long was I on mute just now? Oh, yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, good. I was not on mute. You could hear. Can you hear Gator now?
No, I can hear you, but not Gator.
Oh, I know why. So here's another lesson about OBS.
Cool.
So I'm using virtual audio cable because when you turn on a virtual camera, when you go into Restream, you still have to tell Restream to link directly to your microphone. It doesn't take the audio from OBS, which is fine. But I use audio filters to normalize my levels. In fact, I left one plugin on that I don't need. This is the one I use when my air conditioner is on. So that red line represents the noise floor of my air conditioner. So I'm going to turn off that filter now because I don't need it. But the two filters I use are compressor and expander. They basically help to suppress low-level background noise while also normalizing my sound level so that I'm mostly in the yellow and not in the red zone. Like if I scream into my microphone, it'll prevent it from being too loud, basically. So what we to get those audio filters to work, I had to download a virtual audio cable driver, and once that's installed and set up, you change the setting in OBS down in the settings menu, and then once you have that setting changed, what you do is you go here, you right click advanced audio properties, and you'll notice that next to my microphone it says monitor and output. So anytime I'm using virtual camera and I want the audio filters from OBS to work in Restream or StreamYard, I have to, one, make sure this is turned on. And so the reason you couldn't hear my desktop audio just now, or even earlier, is because I never turn on monitor and output. And the reason I always make sure this is off is because if I don't turn this off and I'm sharing my desktop audio, anything you say is going to echo back.
Yeah.
And obviously that's no good. Now in this case, I told OBS to use my other sound card basically for desktop audio. And I told Gator to come out of that. So now you should hear Gator. Do you hear Gator now?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
There we go. So that's how that works. So that's because I'm now using the output on my microphone while I'm using a different output on my tower, basically. And that's yeah. So that's a little minor thing, but it's relevant. Obviously, like I don't expect you to retain or use this knowledge, but I just want to give you like,
she's just a terrible person.
I guess, you know, real world applications. You know, like how this fucking thing works in the real world. Like his, instead of just talking about it academically, it's like, oh well, this is how this fucking actual things. I mean, not that you really care about my little. For anybody who does, So yeah, that's the
All
gist
right.
of that. So now we have desktop audio.
Now-
That's
I
Gator. I want to go to his
real-world
YouTube channel though.
explanation.
Say again?
I appreciate a real world application, explanation, whatever you.
Oh yeah,
Much
no
more
doubt.
than some guy talking from a book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a lot of that these days. So this is weird. It's so hard to find certain channels. Like I have to do Snacks and Friends and then the word Gator to find him. There we go.
Yeah,
Now we got
I
him.
have to do the same thing because Snacks and Friends just get you snacks.
Yeah, and I do like snacks too. Oh yeah, he does a snack. Oh, he did the Wick sauce. He did the McDonald's sauce review. So there was like a way. There was like a Gundam promotion, I think, or some anime thing going on at McDonald's. So that's the anime promotion right there.
I watched that the other day.
Oh, you did it. Well, for anybody else who wants to watch it, I'm gonna watch this after the show, but I'll leave that right there in the chat. So where was my brain here? So, oh yeah. So bottom line is that's a guy who has. Oh yeah. You know why I want to look up Gator? I remember now. I want to find a video where he's piloting the X-wing. Like, is that its own video, or is that like something?
He ended his live stream with that today. So if you went to his live stream and then went to the very end,
Perfect.
at least I think he did.
Probably. Let's see. We'll check it.
Oh no, he ended with that. He must have shown the X-wing thing like 15 minutes before.
Which is good. Gone. Oh, play this one.
Oh, what happened, Freddy?
Oh, poor Freddy.
What happened? Gator! Wake up! Wake up, Gator! Oh, buddy! This is the end of the con!
That's actually one of the reasons I hooked up external speakers, is so that I can share my desktop audio and hear it on the speakers. But I'm doing things ass backwards. I have my headphones plugged into my audio interface, and I have my speakers. I have my headphones plugged into my. It's very confusing right now. My speakers. I generally don't plug my speakers into the microphone. I feel like that makes no sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
I couldn't believe that there was such a thing when I got this microphone the other day.
Yeah, so like, I mean, it has its uses. So some people, they like to, one of the things that when I use the virtual audio driver to forward the sound filters from OBS to other apps, it's actually using the feature that you would normally use to hear yourself. So if you want to monitor your audio, microphone audio while you're talking, that's the setting that I'm using, except that instead of sending the audio back to my headphones, I'm sending it to a virtual sound device that can be picked up by StreamYard and Restream. And, you know, they do that in radio. I think they do that in radio so that you can hear the commercial breaks and things like that. You know, I guess it keeps everyone on the same page. I know, like, people like the Tim Pool people, they do that. But, you know, I mean, their podcast, they got everything hooked up to XLR cables probably. Because when you want to have multiple people going into the same audio, that's the way you would do it is,
a real mixing board.
Yeah, and like, so when people swear by XLR, I beg to differ. I don't think XLR confers any advantage for like a one-man show or one man at his desk. But when you have like the whatever podcast and there's like 5 people, that's where it makes sense. If I had to run like a 20-foot, 50-foot cable between my microphone and my computer, then yeah, XLR would be better than USB probably. But, you know, a long USB cable, it's like, it's all or nothing. It either works or it doesn't. There's not going to be like that middle ground where you get interference out of it. Now, you might get unreliable operation, in which case, then yeah, that's a situation you might go XLR. But bottom line is that like an XLR microphone is still going to go into a USB interface. And so essentially that could be the limiting factor, is the quality of the interface you're using. But there is no sidestepping USB. One way or another, that thing's coming into a USB. And like this here is just, it's a good microphone. It's a condenser mic with a built-in interface. So, you know, that's the only thing. It doesn't, like, sometimes you'll have like my other mic has USB and XLR on it. So I can use it directly through USB-C. But because it's a dynamic mic, it needs a preamp. And so without a preamp, it's just not really the funnest thing to utilize, you know. But a condenser mic is cool because they work better, I think, from further away. a dynamic mic, you practically have to be speaking straight into it, or like even if you're not speaking straight into it, like there's an upper limit to how far away you can speak into it from. So yeah, that's the thing there. Now I discovered something just now, Dave. You know, like how YouTube's been playing mainstream movies lately, and like after you play a Snow Dub, it puts on a mainstream movie or any stream you're watching. So the screen is black, but I could see the movie. So somehow, it's doing some kind of copyright protection shit, and it's blanking out the video in OBS so that you can't use OBS to screen record a movie and then have a bootleg copy of it, which. I'm surprised I'm seeing.
Wow, I never knew about this.
Yeah, usually it happens on Amazon Prime and Netflix. So if you go to record, and there's a workaround, you can turn off, I think if you turn off hardware acceleration in the browser settings, it'll work. But that's not necessarily something I'm inclined to do. Like sometimes you can get away with it, but it's not necessarily the first thing I would do. But if I was in a bind, I've done it once before, it does work. It's just that I prefer to leave hardware acceleration on because I assume it's qualitatively better. The other workaround is if you output the HDMI and then re-input the HDMI, you could record it that way. But the video signal coming out of this would also blank out over HDMI because I think it would be sending an HDCP signal. You know, anytime you got like HDCP compliant display, it's able to play copywritten stuff. So if I went on Amazon Prime on my Chromecast right now, and plug that into my Elgato, that would come up blank. Except that I have a splitter. And the splitter effectively strips away the copy protection so that the signal coming out of it doesn't have copy guard. Because the Elgato has copy protection support, so you can plug it into a game console, but the minute you put a Blu-ray into that game console, you're getting a blank screen. But because the PlayStation is talking to the splitter now, it doesn't know that the thing behind the splitter is not copy protection compliant. So the splitter essentially acts like it's a receiving device, like a TV. And it says, yes, I support content protection, but then once the signal gets past that, the playing device, the software has no idea, that you're sidestepping it. So that's a minor thing. I don't know. I'm getting into the weeds on that a little bit, but it's a thing. So now we're going to finally go to my shows. So let's go here, and here, and here, and here. I got to update my thumbnail for this stream later, but under videos, I had 2 uploads. So I had Star Wars Squadrons in ultra wide screen. Let's get that audio output to come out of the right device. This guy is like a TIE pilot veteran, and you can see he's got like half his mask is messed up. He's got like more bionics than Darth Vader. He's like that war veteran who got into too many tank incidents and is now like, got prosthetic arms, and he's like, oh yeah, my hip always hurts when it rains, He's like one of them like hardcore guys. He doesn't take his mask off. Like he's basically like Darth Vader in a TIE pilot helmet.
They're kind of like I can't remember the name of the doctor assassin in Hellboy.
Oh wait, that sounds familiar. I don't know him that well, but I'm vaguely familiar with Hellboy. Oh, but they had a guy like that too.
Yeah, some guy that was more cyborg than human.
Yep. So this guy, like, he's just like, I don't know. He's just like, whenever he talks, he's just kind of interesting. He gives advice, then he's like, and then he walks away, like. Or he'll go to laugh and he'll cough. Like, it's just, I don't know. The guy's like got like health problems, and he's like, his need for vengeance keeps him going, I think. But he's also a nice guy. Or so this is what I did here. So I recorded this at 120 frames a second in ultra widescreen. And I have one question. How do these workers get into this pit down here? There's no ladder, there's no staircase. Do they have to just climb in there? Or do you think there's a hidden door behind this wall that goes to the lower level? So like maybe they go one deck down and then they come into the room? Like how do you think they get in there?
That's a very good question.
Over here. I mean, there's a pit, but I don't really see any ladder. I mean, I just that corner is hidden from view, so it's possible there's a ladder right there. But I really can't picture Imperial officers doing that. Like, I know they don't care about their people, but I also feel like they have that need to look prestigious or something, you know? Worker help separated from the command. And there's a lot of smoke here because the Star Destroyer took some damage in a previous battle. But yeah, beautiful game. It looks like when you upload 120 FPS video to YouTube, it brings it down to 60 FPS because I got that here. But what's interesting is this upload can play at 1440p. And I'm not really sure how it does it because I uploaded a 1080p video. So I don't know why it's making it available in 1440p. The only guess I have is that it's because I gave it an ultra widescreen resolution, that somehow YouTube made the decision to treat an ultra widescreen resolution as something higher. Now, one trick people do sometimes is to get better quality on their uploads. They'll actually upload it in 4K or something around like above 1080p, even if it's not 1080. Even if they'll take a 1080p video and they'll upload it at a higher resolution in order to get YouTube to in order to force YouTube to give it a higher bit rate. So in a racing game, when there's a lot of movement, you're gonna see a lot more compression artifacts. And so if I upload the racing game footage at 1440p or 2160p, even though it's from a 1080p source, the higher bit rate's gonna make it look better, basically. So it's a little workaround. So that might be what's going on here, but I'm pretty sure I've looked at YouTube videos at 120 FPS. So if somebody else can upload at 120, I feel like I should be able to do that too. And we can even like look up a video at 120 FPS from 5 years ago, and I guarantee you. Okay, never mind, I lied. That's 60. It looks like 120, but sometimes you can use frame blending to make it look like it's higher than it really is. So what we would do is we'd go here to stats and see if it says, and it says 60 FPS. So it's like, I could almost swear I once opened a YouTube video that was actually 120.
The great white whale of YouTube videos.
Yeah, right. That's basically what it is at this point. And I'm not sure if they took away the ability to do 120 FPS at some point. If YouTube simply decided to stop making 120 available, like they said, statistically speaking, nobody uses it, and we should save ourselves some money and bandwidth. I'm wondering if that's what they did. But
that would be the smart move.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, like, it would be. I mean, if they would just, publicize the capabilities in a clear manner, let the user decide, make sure that you don't push out 120 FPS to people who don't use it, right? Like, if I got 60 FPS, it shouldn't be forcing 120 FPS. That'll save them bandwidth, because that's a sure way to waste bandwidth, is sending out a higher resolution or a higher frame rate than what your client can actually utilize. But I just don't think people would be uploading these 240 hertz tests if they couldn't play at that frame rate. So I don't really know what to make of this, to be honest. But what I do know is I could upload 120 FPS to Vimeo. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to, like, I already got a couple of videos on Vimeo. I'm going to start promoting it a little bit more. I don't think there's a lot of demand for it, but what little demand there is, I think I could fill that niche. And then the second upload I did today is right over here. This is Rebel Flight Training. And in parentheses, I would say it's how to take down an Imperial Walker with your harpoons and tow cables. A lot of people who've played this game in the past have trouble doing this. So I was like, I'm going to do a flight instruction video here, and options when it comes to game pads, roll with it. So those are the two videos I did today, in addition to this live stream where we didn't really discuss a whole lot of Star Wars, but I'm okay with that because it's in the same vein as my Monday show when I said I was going to discuss Star Wars, and we did everything but. And my boy Eric Boyd, he did a video. We're going to open that up, and I'm going to bookmark that so I can watch it later. Eric Boyd is a nice dude. EBN is on. I think we should all raid EBN. You know what? How many people we got here right now? Do we have enough people to do a raid? Well, we should all raid EBN, all right? What, 3 of us there are?
Sure.
because that's good press right there. That's good publicity. I mean, that's a bigger channel to me, right? If people say DJ Raid, more people are gonna see my name. Nah, I'm joking. You don't have to say, honestly, just say hi. You don't even have to say DJ sent you. Just be like, say hi. They're nice guys, really. They're good. I once met this guy in real life. I did. I met Nick in real life. I did. I hung out with him for all of 15 minutes. Can you say that? Can any of you say that? Huh? I'm just trolling here now, but he was all right. He's a cool dude. I never met Coach, however. I think he's in a different state than Nick. So basically, bottom line is, I enjoyed A New Hope. I mean, like, I didn't even know much about Star Wars when I was a kid, but I seen more Star Trek. I had a giant Darth Vader toy. Don't know where it is now. Wish I still had it. We have Han Solo and Carbonite, but when we finally got the trilogy in the 90s trilogy release before the special edition, that's when we really got into it. Before that, we saw it a couple of times on Thanksgiving, like when we were visiting family, we would watch Star Wars over Thanksgiving. But that was the point where I really got into Star Wars. And, one issue with Star Wars is, unlike Star Trek has decades of stuff. Star Wars for a long time was basically 3 movies, a few novels, and comics. And the comics, at this point, Disney decided to be like, oh yeah, that's the extended universe and it's not canon. And I think they wasted an opportunity there, but that's a whole other can of worms. But I always like to joke that Star Trek is superior to Star Wars because there's more. On the other hand, sometimes there's just action that Star Wars has going for it, where Star Trek doesn't have it going for it. But then again, when your ship has an antimatter reactor and big weapons, you really don't need to fly fast. You got energy shields, you got all of that. But bottom line is, I think a lot of people find Empire to be their favorite. I think it's that Battle of Hoth that people like. But I really didn't have a problem with the Ewoks of Return of the Jedi. I see it as one big story on the whole, to be honest. I think they each have their charm. I used to hate on the sequels a lot, but they grew on me. And at this point, there's things I could complain about, but all in all, after seeing the sequel trilogy, I think the prequels are looking that much better. I vaguely remember that me and my mom actually liked Jar Jar Binks, but we're just probably part of the exception. But what are your thoughts, David? Let's, give me some thoughts on Star Wars, since, this is supposed to be partially Star Wars related. Any thoughts?
Well, I enjoyed movies 4, 5, and 6 when they came out in the 70s and early 80s. I saw the first one of the prequels, and I was a little bit disappointed that Lucas had taken the character of the Jedi and taken him away from being more like a Buddhist monk to being some kind of law enforcement officer, because I don't know, just the whole midichlorian thing, and it just seemed like there was a belief system with the first 3 films that he put out, and it seemed like there was just not as much of that in the next 3 films. And the sequels, well, when Leia turned into Space Jesus, that's when I just, I can't do it anymore. So,
well, that's a good point, because like I said, the prequels, I used to judge them harder, but I said, you know what? Okay, they want to give a scientific explanation for this thing with the Force, fine, whatever. Okay, whatever makes them sleep at night, even though it came out of nowhere. The Jedi kind of look like assholes after acting like, because one thing for them to be an enforcement group, but an ineffective enforcement group that thinks it's a good idea to build up a clone army, and maybe it is a good idea. Maybe this is what needed to be done, but it's like they literally sowed the seeds of their own destruction. It's like maybe that's what part of the lesson is, something about humility or something like power and corruption or something. But it's like they practically gave the keys to Palpatine, and then by the time they got smart enough to do something about it, Palpatine is already way too powerful. Samuel L. Jackson tries to come in there, and I think even he was breaking the rules at that point, but he took it upon himself to do something about it. And at this point, it's like, you're paving the road to hell with these good intentions, and you're making your way to hell pretty quickly doing it. But that's kind of like what I gleamed out of it as well.
Yeah, I agree. It just and the whole arc with Anakin, and especially with Padme.
Yeah. It's like, wait, she died because he was. I mean, I guess the negative energy from the Force, maybe they're linked to each other in some way, but that was kind of like, a hell of a way to go about it. It's like,
Yeah, 'cause there was a good 15-year difference between the two of them at the beginning of
oh, yeah, that's a good point, too. She
film
was.
one or whatever you want to call it.
And she was still hot when he was an adult.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Well, now as for Star Wars video games, those are things that I can, definitely say I'm glad exist. And I think one of the things that where people took advantage of the extended universe, expanded universe, and real quick, I do want to touch that. Yep. Look, see, Dusty Lamborghini says, I saw that Rebel flight training video, and I am now ready to fight the Empire next winter. Next winter, that's going. And what was it, Cloud City and Lando is a big part of Empire being the best. Oh yeah, Lando, Billy D. Williams in Empire was better than Donnie Glover. No offense, but I mean, having a pansexual Lando just doesn't do it for me, really. I'd rather have a degenerate gambler than a sex-crazed Lando,
Yeah, somebody that's going to offer me a Colt 45 malt liquor.
Yeah! Hell yeah. Yeah, Family Guy special did a good job with that. What's up, CLS Studio? I hope you tuned into Pops' content today, because I accidentally ran this stream in coincidence with Pops. See, when I realized I was doing that, I was going to do a half-hour stream and then, send everyone over, but then, we had so much fun talking about cool shit that I didn't do that. But anyway, I left some links in the chat to some good content and good content creators I do recommend to all of you guys. But real quick, we're going to do a quick search. We're going to do Star Wars, which I know I'm misspelling that. It's Star Wars, right? But, just give us an idea. So that's the game I uploaded at 2 a.m. last night. Fantastic game, pretty good story. I don't know if it passes the sniff test to all of the hardcore people, but I think it was a good game, and Salty Traveling C dropped in during the premiere to compliment my game audio quality, which means a lot, because he knows his stuff about audio videos, so if he's saying it's good, it's good. Dark Forces Remastered. So, I only ever played Dark Forces 2. I did play this game recently, and Mike Pacific 414 actually does play this game. So, if you go to one of his more recent live streams today, you will see that he does play this game. Assuming that my Stream Elements bot actually replays there we go. So yeah, and one of the things I noticed about this game was, so for the bad guys, they didn't really use 3D models. They use flat image models, but when you walk around the bad guy, I think it just changes the image basically. Very good on a resource-starved 386 computer. This would definitely be a good game to play on an old computer, because you'd get that 3D first-person shooter gameplay in a Star Wars environment, but without overtaxing the system. That said, the one I actually played in my youth was Dark Forces 2, and you can see some of the 3D models in these screenshots right here. They're pretty basic, but they're better than the ones in Dark Forces 1. As for the environments, I'd say the environments are pretty comparable. Here's a good example. Big Imperial installations, some alien security guards, places where you could fall to your death. This is I think it gets the look right. It gets the look and the feel right. When you walk around, the sound effects, you can hear your boots clinking on metal. Clink, clink, clink. You're walking on metal plate. So I thought that was kind of cool too. And it's got some interesting cut scenes, definitely low quality video of the era, but they're cut scenes that are live full motion video. From there, I barely remember playing this, but apparently you got a Naboo Starfighter. Battlefront 2, didn't really get that far, and it might revisit it. I can tell you, I fucking hate Battlefront 1. I bought Battlefront 1 on the EA app, I think Origin, and I'll probably never re-download it and never replay it. I bet you by now the DRM feature on it would prevent me from playing it anyway. And yeah, I hated it. It was like EA was making the new Battlefront like fucking Call of Duty. Not my cup of tea. But this had a better story mode. So yeah, the new Battlefront 1 had a crap story mode. I mean, it didn't really have a story mode. They want you to do multiplayer. They want you to, and I remember I was getting my ass handed to me by like 12-year-old kids piloting AT-AT walkers. I mean, you go out there as one man on the edge of a mountain, and someone's got an Imperial walker. It doesn't take a lot to kill you. And apparently, CLS Studio does have experience with Starfighter, and he says Starfighter is a lot of fun, or is fun. So I'll take that into account. I'll try it out at some point. Apparently somebody played it in 3D. Or is this just someone in VR? I don't think this is supposed to be a VR game. I think somebody... Like, if this... Actually, this looks like it might be... Wait, did they make this VR? I think this is a different game. Star Wars Battle of Endor. I don't know if this is the right one, because I mean, I'm seeing there's some offset here. So to make fake 3D, there needs to be an offset, and I'm seeing an offset between the two images. So is this even from the right game, or is this a mod? I don't know. I'll research it later. But that was like, I was there we go. It is like more. That's a very nice screenshot. So one of my concerns was that playing this game, it might not work on a modern computer properly, but it looks like it would. I think, oh yeah, I did play this for 10 minutes once. I'm gonna have to revisit this. This looks like a whole lot of fun now, the more I look at it. So, that's nice right there. It's almost like operating a TIE bomber or something like that. Or a Y-Wing in Rogue Squadron has like a little reticle where you can bomb ground targets. So, definitely gonna revisit this game here. So I appreciate the reference, CLS, so I can be confident it's a good game. Haven't really played this game at all. But it does have a really cool picture of a Super Star Destroyer, so I think I will give this game a chance soon. This one I don't really remember playing, X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, but it has some nice models. Didn't really play TIE Fighter more than 10 minutes, but I did try it out once. And this has some very old-timey color in there. That looks kind of cool.
That almost looks like comic book art.
Yep. Oh, you got Thrawn in here too. I didn't think you'd have Grandmaster Thrawn. It looks like they're doing some flat graphics and fake 3D, but it looks like they're doing it to great effect. So I'm curious to see how that looks. Then I got some of the same games on GOG Games. Dark Forces, so this would be the one that's not remastered. So basically the difference is that the remaster works like automatically on a modern computer, whereas if you play this version, it's going to lower your resolution of 320 by 240. If you have multiple monitors like me, it's going to move all your crap around. Like, it's going to really be disruptive to play this game while trying to stream it. But hypothetically, it might work, because sometimes with these older titles, you do have to make adjustments to it to make them work on a modern computer. You know, there's sometimes some tricks there too. This guy apparently is using a mod to play it at 2560 by 1600 resolution, which is why some elements look really good and other elements can't be upscaled, so they look like shit. You know, so that's what's going on there. It's kind of interesting. Mysteries of the Sith. So I think this is an expansion for Jedi Knight, basically. So very same game engine, just has new stuff in it. It doesn't have the full motion video cutscenes. I think it's all captions, but it's actually pretty good actually. What little I've seen of this, what little I played of it, I enjoyed it. Force Unleashed, I played this on Game Boy, and I remember the commercial for this game was really good. So, you know, like, you get to use Force Lightning and all of that craziness. And this might be the game where you get to take down a Star Destroyer using the Force, but don't quote me on that. Do you know that? You ever see that video clip of a Jedi taking a Star Destroyer down using the Force?
No, I have not seen that yet.
Oh, yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Star Destroyer Force Pull. And yes, it does appear to be Force Unleashed. I'm going to give you guys some audio on this one here. Okay, I'm going to try to... Okay, let me lower the volume slider for you guys so I don't make you deaf. I can't see the chat right now. I apologize if anybody says anything cool.
CLS Studio says Force Unleashed is great.
And I see you had it on the PlayStation 2. And you know, it's interesting. The graphic looks really good. It looks like a really basic side scroller, but they're mixing some 3D elements in there. You know, like I definitely wish I gave this game more of a chance a long time ago, because it looks like they really tried. I mean, to make it good.
I like how the voice of the stormtroopers hasn't changed in 30, 40 years.
Yeah, dude, that reminds me, there's another game I'm going to touch on in a moment that relates to that. I'm glad you brought that up. So it looks like some of the cannons are destroyed on that Star Destroyer. This guy's throwing some stuff around. And if you guys don't like spoilers, then don't watch it. No, I'm kidding. This is a classic spoiler. So yeah, he's doing it. He's doing it right there. But yeah, in Shadows of the Empire, whenever you a stormtrooper sees you before you see them, they'll sometimes say like, "Hey, stop it right there!" And it's got that like proper stormtrooper, you know, through a speaker voice, basically.
That's got to be patented, copyrighted, trademarked. 9 Ways to Sunday.
It's interesting, the things that I can make a soundbite out of that and probably not get any trouble out of it, but it's true. If you make a movie, then it might be another story. If I play the music, it's definitely, you know, gonna get detected. There we go. Now we got the, so we went from a cut from the live game play to a cut scene.
Oh, it made him cross-eyed.
You there, boy? Has the starship been destroyed? I repeat, has the starship been destroyed?
And apparently he's got a little droid buddy. Oh, that's cute. He's like a busted C-3PO gladiator droid imitator. I played it on PS2, even though it was an Xbox 360 and PS3 flagship. So I played the downgraded version where you can't pull what. So the PS2 version, you can't pull down the Star Destroyer. You had to have a 360. And let me tell you, PS2 is better than 360. I mean, 360, yeah, had better graphics, supported high definition, but the 360 was like the beginning of like consoles being built like shit, where like they would like literally ship something that like was bleeding edge. But it's like, okay, yes, this is a race car, but is it going to last a long time? Like, I'll win a few races, but it's not going to last me a decade, you know? And that's the original 360 sometimes wouldn't even make it out of the box. You know, it's
they were alpha testing that on the consumer base.
Yup. So just a cut scene on the PS2. Got you. Thanks, CLS. That makes sense. So basically now the... you know, briefly here, you know, we got a few other games, but Lego Skywalker Saga. Now, one of the things is I bought this, I think I did buy this on Nintendo because it was on sale recently, but I usually, when I see a game on Nintendo, I always check if it's on Steam, because if it's on Steam, I buy it on Steam, because then I can play it on my Steam Deck with better graphics. I can play it on my PC with better graphics, and then it's like, my progress is going to be saved between my PC and, you know, my PC and my, this is what I was looking at, my PC and my handheld. And then also with the Steam Deck, I could remotely play the game off my desktop. So during the summer, when I don't want to be in a hot room, I play the game remotely. This computer gets hot, makes my room hot. But I go to a different room with the Steam Deck. And then because that thing's running through the network connection, it doesn't get hot. The battery lasts longer. I mean, yeah, you got to have it on an internet network connection, but like, it works. It's a thing. So that's how. And then here's the old Battlefront that I recently got, and I think this is the new one, the remastered one, maybe. No, this is not. This is from 2021. So this one I had to tweak the settings a little, but this is the reason this is a good Battlefront. I remember when this came out, it was a good game. I mean, you know, you get a lot of action. You could like you got the first-person shooter, then you're flying a starfighter, then you can land the starfighter on a capital ship, sabotage the capital ship, get back in the starfighter, and then run away as it's blowing up. Like, I just think it was like one of the first games where you combined the two modes of gameplay together. So yeah, I love it. So now, lastly, the GOG game titles I have, and we can see it right here. If I get that corner handle here, so if I go to my library of installed or owned games and we do a search for Star Wars, yeah, this is my whole lineup here. Dark Forces and Dark Forces 2. So I found that the GOG version of Dark Forces 2 worked better because Steam doesn't really do anything to make the game work. So GOG, their main thing used to be, I don't think it's really their thing anymore, but their main thing used to be that you'd get good old games and they would repackage the games to work on modern computers, or at least without making it complete, like at least made it possible to run the games on a modern computer. So that was like sort of what they did here. Yes, I would like to update GOG. I'd like to do it a little later, but I do want to update it.
Is GOG like GeForce Now? Is it you play
Nah,
online or?
it's just another app store basically, not completely online. No, definitely it's like Steam. Yeah, it's like you could download the games and store them. It's not like yeah, it's not like you're streaming them. It's not like fucking Stadia or any of that junk. Yeah. I mean, look, GeForce Now isn't bad for what you would use it for, but I definitely wouldn't want to replace, local gaming completely with that. That's for sure,
It's my only way of playing Fortnite.
And exactly, and it works, I mean, like, I remember a friend was doing something. His issue was that I think it would time out if you idled AFK for like a little bit, and you'd have to reconnect the whole session. That would be a little annoying.
Oh God, yes.
Xbox is one. Sometimes Xbox would run it on a proper rack-mounted PC, and other times they would run the game off of a like 360 or something. It would you can't when you're playing the Xbox remote gaming on a PC. There's no guarantee it's gonna play on one or the other. Sometimes it's like you'd get the lesser of the two. Rebel Assault 2. I never played Rebel Assault 1, but Rebel Assault 2 has some cool full motion video, and it has a TIE fighter that cloaks. Only issue is it's like, I think the term is rail, where like you're flying a plane, but it guides you to the level. So you get to aim your weapon, you get to maneuver a little bit, but mostly the game is flying you around along a preordained path. And same thing here, like you're hiding behind a wall, you press a button to hide behind the wall, and you press a button to come out and shoot the stormtroopers. But it's like you don't walk until the game brings you to the next phase of the level. But it ran on a 486. It played full motion video on a 486, which is like pre-Pentium. So I'd say it's, and it worked on PlayStation 1. So I'd say fantastic game considering, what it was running on. And for the...
I got a door I got to close.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So then the other game I got is Shadows of the Empire. Now, this is actually the PC version, better than N64. They practically remastered it or made it function at higher resolutions on the PC. So you got that. You also have, I actually streamed this game a while back. It does look nicer than the N64 version. It also has better sound effects. It has Redbook CD audio, which is like apparently some kind of certification designation, but essentially the sound effects are like better than the N64 version. So recommended mention right there. And I see that oops, I clicked on it twice. I like the controls of Battlefront 2 better than the OG, but the first game had better maps. Ah, that's interesting. I'll have to give it a chance. I appreciate these insights, CLS Studio, because I didn't know anything about the first Battlefront. And then we got, so I got two versions of, two copies of Starfighter, apparently. And then Rogue Squadron 3D. I mean, what, is there a Rogue Squadron 2D? But anyway, this is the PC version of the N64 game. Once again, better graphics. Although the N64 game was not bad. The N64 version had official support for the expansion pack. and I believe it worked in progressive scan, which don't even get me started on why that's a good thing, but it's a good thing. I liked using the Y-wing in this game. When you use the Y-wing, you actually get a reticle where you're pointing down at the ground, so it helps you, like, it's almost like having a bomb sight on a fighter plane or something like that. So yeah, very cool, very good game.
Was the N64 that cube?
No, that was the GameCube. The N64 is the one I have a flash cartridge loaded inside of right now. So that's the black one with the curved front on it.
Oh, okay.
And although I don't own all of these games, I actually do own all of the Star Wars games that are listed here. So technically, I'm totally legal opening any of these games here. Not that I really care, but you know. But yeah, in a nutshell, you know, this is just some of the Star Wars games I'm familiar with or that I already own, and a few of them that I actually enjoyed playing in the past. Oh, I'm sorry for the loudest sound. Oh wait,
Hey,
good,
Carlos
you guys.
Bish.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you, Carlos. So actually, good news is that you guys can't hear the audio because I had it muted, but I'm gonna unmute the HDMI now. And so this is the only issue with I need to sort out is sometimes when I record a game now, I have this little avatar in the corner. Oh good, you guys, okay, it's not on right now, but the avatar I have activates when the audio is playing, so I need to figure out a way to prevent the game audio from activating the it's in my other video, the video I did with the Rebel pilot training, and in the Star Wars Squadrons video, I have a little avatar. Oh, look at that! I got Han and Carbonite. Anyway, I was cleaning him off. He's a little dirty. But yeah, this game here, like in the settings, you could turn on, you know, high resolution mode, because the thing is that, oh, and you know what? It is interlaced. So we see those ugly horizontal lines called combing artifacts. Those things are a bane on my existence. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole right now.
The gentleman that taught me most everything I know about computing, his whole thing was writing code for video display drivers to basically take interlace out of take those scan lines out of everybody's life.
That is pretty cool, actually. So the thing is that, like, VLC Media Player can do it automatically, but and it does it pretty good. But whenever I record a video off of VHS or 8mm or DV cassette, I de-interlace it using my preferred filter, because I want to make sure that, like, it's a consistent result, because I can't guarantee that every device playing my video is going to do it consistently. So that's how I, you know, deal with that. I you know, just de-interlace it in a way that I think is best, and it works out, you know, and then at least I know that when I play something back, I can, you know, expect consistency out of it. Now, a while back, I did find a third-party app that de-interlaces video coming into an input. So I would have a composite video input hooked up, and then the video going into that would go to this app. I would set the de-interlacing settings in the app, and then I would, you know, make it available to OBS. Basically, I would share that window, and that's how I would de-interlace it in real time. And one of the things I was noticing is a lot of games that use the expansion pack that have a high resolution mode, like, also happen to be interlaced. Not all of them. Like Perfect Dark is not interlaced, but South Park 64, Rogue Squadron, for some reason, I guess they found that they could maybe it's a way of saving resources by interlacing it or something. And look, I understand, like, they knew that it was playing on standard definition TVs at the time, so this was okay, but I get better replay out of the games that are not interlaced today, you know. So yeah, I put a lot of thought and consternation. I know they have hardware de-interlacing methods, they have chips that do it, but you know, it's like, I think there was a time with DVD, it worked consistently with DVD. Today, I don't know, you know, it's just like, it's a toss-up. But it's interesting that, you know, you had a friend working on display drivers that would handle that. But that's the N64 right there, just to give you an idea.
And on the Amiga, no less.
Oh, wow. That's even crazier.
Yeah, it was that far back. It was before Windows 3.1 came out.
See, the thing about the reason that people get CRTs is because of the Sonic waterfall. So when you have like this waterfall in Sonic, these vertical lines are actually designed to exploit the nature of CRTs in order to give the illusion that you have transparency in the water or alpha blending. And so on the left, this is what you see on an LCD, and on the right, this is what you would see on a, whoops, wrong button. This is what you would see on a, on a LCD on the left. On the right, you would see on a CRT. So yeah, you get these scan lines in there. I think these bricks look better, without the scan lines. But then these spikes over here look all pixelated here. But over here, the pixelation looks more like shading. And so essentially, like back in the day, they took the scan lines into account to help them with this. And so people have been working on different ways, like devices that would add scan lines back in order to give you the illusion. And it's one of these things that work on CRTs. They don't really work on LCDs. There's a few projects I've seen that are trying to do it. I have a few in my Steam Deck on the RetroArch emulator. There are some filters that I can enable to add interlacing to it. When I use my N64, I can also open up this hidden menu that's part of my HDMI mod, and I can basically mess with the interlacing, or I can use different modes. I can add scan lines, or there's different ways to cope. Like at one point, I enabled the scan lines in order to hide the scan lines, which right now I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, but there's so many different ways to coping. But ideally, I wish like everything was de-interlaced except for the things that were specifically made to be interlaced. Like what I mean is like this was clearly made to exploit interlacing. So I wouldn't mind if I played it interlaced and got proper sonic waterfalls. But outside of that, I just prefer, generally not to have it interlaced. Like, especially like N64 games, I don't really see them effectively taking advantage of the interlacing. It might help in some games. It might help to hide the pixels maybe, but there comes a point where emulating N64 is nice, because when you emulate N64 games, you can get like, you can run them at higher resolutions. It's pretty nice, actually. I gotta admit, even though I like authentic hardware, I'll admit N64 emulation. So scan lines are a bane of my existence, but that's the one situation where like I can understand why they're good, I guess. So yeah, but I think that covers most of the Star Wars. Let's double check on the chat before we get ready to wrap here. If memory serves me right, there was a PS2 Rogue Squadron where you could co-op as Pilot Gunner, which was awesome. Oh, that does sound cool. And did I say this already? I hope you're having a wonderful evening, Carlos. Thanks for dropping by. And so that video driver guy sounds like a hero. Interlaced video disgusts me.
Yeah, but he was the wrong person to get involved in setting up a PC to sell to a customer. We had a little business for a while. He would spend 6 hours trying to overclock every PC that came into our little shop. It was... I'd just tear my hair out just watching him. It's like, why? You're not going to give it to the customer like that.
Yeah, I hope not. Because look, even if you could, I used to be, when I was younger, I used to experiment like that. So when I started in retail, I would look for excuses to open up parts of computers that didn't need to be opened. And most of the time there was no harm. But later on, I got more risk adverse, and I started realizing that, yes, that is not a wise thing to do. It's like you're taking too many risks on other people's equipment. It's and it could be a minor thing, like accidentally unplugging someone's Wi-Fi antenna. That's enough to make their life miserable and for nobody to even know what is causing it. But in particular, I remember I didn't know anything about overclocking. I thought it was trivial, and I overclocked the computer, and it mostly worked out. I was able to disable the overclocking, but then I had a similar computer in my possession, and I'm messing with the overclocking, and one day the computer would never run cool again. And I do want to say goodbye to CLS Studio, and thanks for dropping by. But what I mean is overclock it, it's gonna run hot. No surprise there. But when I went and I reverted the settings back to the defaults, that particular CPU never behaved the same again. But many years later, what happened was a friend gave me a computer, similar situation. And it turned out, I think the reason the CPU was getting too hot was because the thermal compound needed to be changed. So I think what happened was the thermal compound got cooked. It became hard. It was no longer transferring the heat And so just scraping it off using a bottle cap and replacing it. In fact, I didn't even replace the thermal compound. I just scraped off the old compound. Back then, heat sinks would have paste pre-applied, but the type of paste that was pre-applied to them really wasn't good, especially when it got cooked or something like that. Generally, thermal compounds should be a very thin coat, you know, like there's certain rule of thumb on that. The higher performance thermal compound has to be changed more frequently. So I remember I bought Thermal Grizzly, which is like popular among overclockers, but then when I found out that, oh, it doesn't have that good mileage, I was like, oh shit, I'll just get the normal stuff. I mean, I want the stuff that's long lasting. I don't need that extra 5 degrees temperature reduction so that I can, you know, overclock it, but have to. He's like, why would I want to open up my computer every year? I mean, why would I want to remove my CPU heatsink every year? You know, it just sounds like a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I want to set it and forget it.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. You know, I want to leave it alone until it's time to dust it or until it's time to replace it. So anyway, I can empathize with the position of having the dude who would take, overclock everything. But yeah, it's true. Like, you know, you want to just get the work in and out. You know, you want to fix the client issue. That's the priority. Get the money from the customer. Get it from them. Make them happy so that they come back for more business because you're doing a good job efficiently, you know. But it's like, one angle, the guy's smart, so you rely on him to get shit done well. But then you also have to tolerate them, you know, overclocking stuff. So he would literally overclock pretty much what we do. Like practice overclocking? Is that what
he just wanted to see what each PC that came into the shop, what it was capable of, whether it was new, old. It was like a challenge to him.
Was he smart enough though to like know to not mess it up? Like, did he generally?
Oh yeah, he never melted one, but he would take an inordinate amount of time playing around. And my German ancestry just does not compute wasting time in that kind of manner.
I got you. That makes some sense. I definitely see that, especially when you're trying to run a business or, you know, like, you know, you want to just make the money, get some downtime, you know, not have any headaches, you know, all the usual things. But still with the driver thing, I mean, like, right now, I wish there was more options, like with deinterlacing. Like DaVinci Resolve has an AI deinterlacer. They have this thing called Topaz AI as well. But so far, the deinterlacer in hybrid is my go-to. The one right over here, deinterlace, deinterlace. But the issue I'm encountering now is I like to use the very slow preset, and it works great on VHS. It works great on 8mm cassette. The problem is that I have some Blu-rays that are 1080i. And when you run the very slow preset on a 1080i Blu-ray, it takes a very long time to encode a half-hour video, like hours. So that's one of the challenges that I have to revisit soon. But you know, I think we covered all the Star Wars stuff in detail now. We got that obligation out of the way. So I'm going to really quickly check on the telescope computer before we wrap up. But if you want to add anything, any thoughts, any ideas, you have the floor.
No, I kind of need to get going. It sounds like it's about, it sounds like a little bit of hail is coming down, and I need to pop on down to the convenience store before Snowdub's stream starts.
Open hailing frequencies. Well, long story short, This is my cloud camera. This is how I check the weather. So with that being said, let's get this wrapped up. We're going to play the regular outro because I think that would be just the thing to do today. So I got a video clip right here. And if I make it into full screen. So anyway, real quick, I want to thank you all for watching. You know, everyone who tuned in tonight, thank you very much. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And for now, we shall end transmission after our lovely outro. I should lower the volume on it this time. Not Star Wars related.